Welcome to another episode of the Inside Byte. My name's Tim Schaefer. I have here with me Rudy. How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Everything good?
Things great, man. Glad to be back for another episode.
And then Dryan with us as well.
What's up? How's it going?
Anything interesting happened in the last week?
Tim, I just want to say, hold on. This is not anything interesting that happened to me, but I will say I've never had like someone I talk to regularly or a friend that is from Florida, and I love the way that you pronounce your I sound. It just like stays in my head, like the inside bite.
It's elongated.
I love it. It's great. Just something I noticed.
There's some country little slang to it, but what's funny is around here people are way worse. You know, you have like actual rednecks with a huge country accent, and then I'm like,
Right.
oh, I don't speak like that. But in the very moment I go up north, it's all anyone ever talks about is my voice. So,
Yeah, it's not like a huge thing, but it's just something I noticed. Sounds kind of cool. Obviously, we know that video gaming is a very expensive hobby, as I mentioned last time, right? But cutting into that, I had so much, like Dryan before we got on the podcast was talking about his mom was saying certain things can cause bad luck, right? So I must have got hit with the bad luck spell because not only did my car broke down like in the middle of a hill, and remember my car's a manual car, right? So we're talking about.
Are you like going up a hill?
Yeah, I'm going up a hill, and normally it's already like a little more difficult than normal in a manual car to go up a hill, right? Because you gotta, the gears, you'll roll back and all that or whatever. Fine.
Right.
So my car had some issues recently, got it fixed, and then the guy was like, "Listen, this one last thing, take care of that on Wednesday." All right, no problem. It's not a big thing. Nope. And sure enough, as I'm going to pick up my daughter from dance, I stop right in the middle. Now, the other thing is in Dryan, I'm sure you know this. In New York, especially, people are just really annoying with their driving. They're very inconsiderate. They don't care.
Dude, yeah.
I know it's not just New York, but New York is definitely up there. So
in New York, we love to cut people off.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong. When I'm in New York City driving, I become a jerk too. You have to. That's the only way.
Yeah, you have to. You have to be an aggressive driver in New York City.
But where I live, about an hour from there, it's not as bad. But anyway, I say all that to say that I'm stopped there. I have my hazards on. Okay, my son's in the car. I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, well, can't really do much now. I call my dad.
Is your vehicle like completely turned off, or is it stalling?
Yeah. So what happened was the car had like a cylinder misfire. So basically, it's not, the engine is not working, properly at that point. So I saw the check engine light start flashing, and I felt like a little knock going on. I'm like, oh man, I don't know how much time I have left here. And then boom, it just stops. It like pops up with the, all your notification lights turn on. That's how you know it's bad. And then it stops. So I try to turn it on again, nothing. I'm like, damn. Okay, so I stop. And then the most annoying part is you have people beeping at me. People are, saying things out of their window. I'm like, what do you expect me to do? You see my hazards on. You see me stopped. Like, what more do you want me to possibly do? But I will say there were a few people who made me feel better about it. A few people like passed by real quick and stopped. Hey, everything okay? So I was like, okay, that's kind of nice of them at least. To fast forward, a tow truck came. They brought my car to the shop, and that was already, a lot of money there I had to spend. Okay, fine. So I thought that was the worst of my troubles, okay? Then I get a ride back home with my dad. I'm supposed to have a few friends over to play some Smash Bros. That night. Like, all right, if anything, at least, this sucks. I have to spend money. My car is out of commission. At least I'll have a fun night with my friends, play some Smash Bros, right? So on my way home, I see a car got into an accident right around the corner from me, from where I live, and they crashed into the electric pole.
Jeez.
So now the transformer is completely like, you see it sparking, it's out.
When is this?
This is a few days ago on, let's say Wednesday, I think it was.
So you had like no power because of that?
Yeah, yep. So all the lights, all the traffic lights are out. I don't know. I'd say you go a few blocks, all out. All our apartment complex completely out. So now we can't play video games either. I'm like, when will this end, man? And when will this end? Eventually, the last few days have been a little better, but just look out for a bad day incoming. I don't know if it's going to hit all of us or not, but man, that was really annoying.
So it's incredibly hot recently here. But I mean, I am in Florida. It's like 93 degrees right now.
Sure.
How hot is it there? Like, are you dying of heat? Do you need AC?
It's not terrible. Some days are worse than others, but I just naturally am someone who is always freaking hot. So I always crank the AC and everything. I mean, it could be 60 degrees and I'm still pumping the AC. I don't know, Dryan, I don't know about you in the city if it's worse right now or what.
Well, actually, gotten a little bit better. Like, we saw like a giant heat wave like in the 90s and stuff, but like today the high was like 82. I'm a naturally cold person. The heat doesn't really bother me as much until like it gets into the 90s, like 100 range. My girlfriend, she's a very warm-bodied person, so anything that's like above 60 degrees, she's complaining about.
That's me right there.
Like, but no, it's so crazy. For example, like any random day, I just like hold her hand or whatever, and I'm like, why the fuck is your hand so sweaty? No, it's so weird. But like, I guess there's people like that out there.
I can't stand not having AC and trying to go to bed at night.
Oh my god, me neither. I can't do it, man. I turn on it's just like instinct now. Like I go to the room at the end of the night, turn on the AC. It doesn't matter if I feel hot, cold, nothing. It's just always.
Are you guys watching the Olympics? I'm not. I haven't seen a single second of it. Man, I usually will turn it on and try to watch whatever, but I just haven't.
The only Olympic news that I'm getting is through memes. Like, I know we haven't medaled at all.
I did see Final Fantasy being played during the opening ceremony, and like the dragon.
What, really?
Wasn't like the Master of Ceremonies like dressed as Jiraiya from like Naruto or something?
Yeah, he went Japanese as hell, basically. But I mean, I would never expect to hear like the Final Fantasy victory song being played during the Olympics and like people all around the world hearing it. I mean, that's kind of cool.
It would be hilarious if every time the Japanese team would come on, like you hear the Sephiroth theme song, like One Wing Angel.
You watch any sports, period?
Not much. You know what? I do watch some sports. It's the weird sports. If I see bowling on the TV, I'll stop and watch it.
Bowling? You have bowling on TV?
Yeah, wait. Is there bowling on TV?
ESPN? Yeah, sometimes it'll appear. I love playing sports. I just am not really into watching
the NFL, and that's it. I am into
Yeah. Do you follow it like crazy? Like, are you like, oh my god, they traded so and so?
I used to. I follow my team now because it's just too much to keep up with, and I'm already trying to keep up with a million other things. So I just have limited it. I used to watch NBA, NFL, but now it's just NFL, and it's really just keeping up with my team, and that's really about it. Like maybe teams in my division, but yeah, dude, that Colts is my team, but outside of that, I don't know. It's definitely went downhill.
I can find a football game or maybe a basketball game entertaining, depending. Like if I am hanging with a friend and they're a big sports guy and they're watching a game and it's the third quarter and it's close or something, it's a football game. Yeah, okay, I'll sit down and watch that. But I don't follow it through the season. And honestly, I think I haven't watched the Super Bowl in years, probably. I don't know. I'm
the same way as Rudy. I don't really pay attention to like any sports on TV, but if I'm invited to like a social event, such as a Super Bowl party or whatever, then I'll pay attention. It's like, oh, okay.
You're not going to sit there and be a hater.
No.
Like, right, exactly. Otherwise, I'm not going to do that either.
You're going to kill the party. Like, who wants to be that guy?
Oh my God.
Like, oh, boo sports. I'm here.
Sports ball.
I'm here at a sports event, but I hate sports, so why am I even here?
Speaking of booing, they were actually booing during different China moments.
Wait, at the Olympics? Like,
yeah, like for real.
Japan?
Police are investigating an incident where hundreds were booing while watching the Olympics broadcast.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on in China lately.
Yeah. But before we even get into that, because we're going to, I wanted to get into people having troubles getting into the Olympics. And you guys were bringing up somebody. What were you talking about earlier?
So, Brian, I'm going to let you take it from me in a second because you seem to know more than me, but I'll just introduce it. There's an Olympian named Simone Biles. She's an American. And from what I can see, again, I don't watch the Olympics like that, but I've seen a lot of clips of her and I've watched some of her performances. She's a gymnast and she seems to be very, very talented. Like we're talking about like the way people talk about like LeBron James in basketball. Like that's how I see this girl because she seems to be way better than everyone competing against her. Recently, she decided to kind of remove herself from the Olympics this time around. She herself is citing, her mental health, but I think also there's some other reasons, right? Like, aren't they basically stacking the deck against her because she's too good at this point?
There's like some shady politics going on with the Olympics and how like she's competing and stuff.
It's something to do with her the way they were scoring her. It seems that she's not getting judged the same way that some of the others are being judged, from what I understand.
Yeah. I mean, like what she was saying to the newspaper was just like she decided to withdraw and not compete any further for her mental health. anybody who deserves to take a step back is her, just because based on her record, like what Rudy was saying in previous years, she's basically carrying the whole entire American team in the gymnastics division. I mean, she's also pretty young too, so it's not like the last time you'll see her in the Olympics. I don't know if there's like a certain like age limit, but I'm pretty sure she'll still be competing in like the following years.
Yeah, and she also mentioned she didn't want to bring the team down. She didn't feel like she was in it, and she didn't want her score to affect the rest of the team and jeopardize them losing a medal. If that's her reason, then whatever. I don't really know how to feel about it. I can see both sides of it. I can see like, well, you got to be a team player, and if you're the best, then you got to support the team. But at the same time, I can't imagine being in that position if you're not into it at that time, or you have other things going on.
Somebody not wanting to participate because of the stress. I mean, I'm more trying to figure out, I guess, why it's a big story. I thought there was more to it.
Yeah, what?
It's a big story, I think, is because of the outcry from media people with a following, like a platform on the conservative spectrum. A lot of the American Olympians just like weak this time around because like none of them have really like medaled, quitting for mental health reasons is seen as soft. In Japanese culture, like there's no mention of mental health. In Chinese culture, if you freaking speak anything about like mental health, they'll lock you in the loony bin because they'll think you're crazy.
The sentences that she said, and this is exactly what I would take from it. I didn't want to risk the team a medal for my kind of screw ups because they worked too hard for that. So I decided as girls that I just needed to leave from the competition because my head's not in the game. Okay, right. I'm okay with that. That's normal. People do this shit all the time. It's not a big deal. Like people, if your head's not in the game, you can't participate and you don't want to bring the rest of the team down. That's fine.
I would say that's one of the most American things to look at it. It's like if you don't feel like you are 100%, you are like looking out for the best of your brothers and sisters on your team, that you don't want to drag them down, be dead weight, and pull yourself out of the equation. I think that is one of the most noble things to do.
I mean, we play video games all the time. Feel like I'm just not feeling it. I can't play, and I'm making y'all lose, and it's just way worse. I'm play later. It's like that magnified.
Sure, times 1,000. Yeah, and I almost forgot about this because it was a big story a few years ago. But okay, so before I get to that though, I saw here that it also says that like they're pointing out that she's just been the last few events, like she faltered on 3 of the 4 events, barely saving her uneven bars routine, falling off the beam, stepping off out of bounds on floor exercise, and this is compared to where she usually makes 0 mistakes at all, right? So, okay, she's not in it. But then also, remember that story from a few years ago with that disgusting human being that was the guy who, the team doctor, remember? In 2018, he was sentenced to all these charges for all these horrible, like, sexual crimes that he did to these girls, including her. So I don't know, man. Maybe with all this stuff combined and the way the year was, maybe she just can't be perfect.
What I was also wanting to talk about with the Olympics was girl getting banned because they found like weed in her system. That seems like a way, like somebody head not in the game, not want to participate. Okay, that's cool. I don't have any issue. Most people, I don't see many people. I think we're just thinking many people are because we see a few people in social media being like, "Oh my god, what if." Right?
Local minority, you know.
Yeah. But I don't think most people are like upset at her or care. Like it's normal.
No, yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, isn't that always the case, right? The loudest people on social media. I mean,
but me being mad at the organization as a whole to be like, honestly, they're putting themselves at a defect if they're smoking often and they're participating in the Olympics. Why would that be something that they would ban a girl for not being able to participate? Now, this has always been the case, but what I'm getting at is so many places are now becoming legal with that. And hopefully the Olympics will finally be like, okay, weed in the system. How is this going to give her advantage at all? If anything, is going to give her a disadvantage. Like, there's no possible way you could convince me that she's going to be in a better performer because she's high.
I think there's 2 things to say about this. The first thing is from a cultural perspective. Japan isn't as progressive with recreational use of marijuana as other countries are. I think it's still one of the number 1 drugs to get prison time for in Japan is marijuana possession.
It's probably true just because it's so popular. So people are always going to want to have it, and then they're going to go to Japan and then they're against it, and now more people are going into jail there than anywhere else.
Just to answer your question before you continue, the drug was outlawed in 1948 in Japan. Use and possession are punishable by up to 5 years imprisonment and a fine.
Exactly.
7 to 10 years imprisonment and a fine if there's any cultivation, sale, and or transport.
Even though they might have a subjectively outdated rule where like you can't have any like sort of drugs like marijuana in the system to participate, blah blah blah. That's still a written rule you have to follow by in order to participate in their house.
Yeah, from my understanding, I know that she had been using after, wasn't her mom passed or something like that? Was that the reason why?
She was sad and she was just trying to get out of like a.
Sure. Yeah, it's rough, man. I feel like if some of these corporations could look at this with like a case by case and be like, okay, okay, we understand what happened here. But then I know there would be an outcry. Oh, it's not fair. How come she can do it and I can't do it? And it would be a whole mess. So I don't know. It's
the
tough,
fairness point though is like, how is she? All I'm seeing is a competitive, and I don't even care about the rest. All I'm thinking is like how she definitely wouldn't have a competitive edge. So why do I care? And that's as far as I take it. Like if anything, you're making it worse for yourself.
She literally got kicked based on semantics. That's literally it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right, unfortunately.
But one could argue is when we said that being on the Olympic athlete level, being on the global stage, you have a certain image that you're supposed to like uphold, right? You're up there on the pedestal of like various standards. One of these standards, while a lot might not agree, but like one of these standards is probably being like squeaky clean, drug free, is just a negative effect on the image and like on the team as a whole, As a Japanese person, I'm not Japanese, but I'm Chinese, but like I'm just trying to look from the Asian perspective that's very like uptight about drugs and stuff. Like I have family members that literally like frown upon all sorts.
I've seen it all my life, different friends and family of just they always want to have the clearest ahead and go into it in they want the most optimal mind they could possibly have and nothing to alter it. And the very moment you try to alter it, you're looked down upon. And that
But I guess what I don't understand is what if it's not a performance enhancing drug,
that's
then
what I'm saying.
Why, like if I was a baseball player or something, right, and I'm trying to get into the big leagues and I'm in like a D1 school or something, and they find out I'm taking HGH, steroids or something, okay, then I can understand why they would suspend me.
It's the stigma behind
like having males competing against females or steroids competing, stuff like that. Like, of course, like, but you're actually taking something that worsens your performance. So why the
Right, and it seems like it was clearly outside of it's not like she did it right before the heat started or something, and it's unfortunate. I know it's only a little suspension, but it's unfortunate because I guess according to this, she won the 100-meter race and set a new American record, 10.86 seconds. That's like
the only reason it's even getting brought up with her is because she was a high performer. People are looking forward to her performing again.
No one would have cared about some random person.
Yeah, like I mean, like, but like the points like I'm trying to make is there's a certain standard to the Olympics and being a participant of the Olympics, and like if you don't meet those standards and if you don't follow those rules, then it's gonna hit the fan, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and
especially
if they have a big spotlight on them, like setting like a new American record.
Yep.
I'm just trying to push down those standards. That's all.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually it'll be
there should be like an Olympic level like joint rolling team.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you were to like smoke before an event and you were gonna go out there and run and try to break a world record, bro, you're not doing that.
So marijuana relaxes muscles, right? So one could argue because you gotta stretch before a match, right? One could argue.
When did she do it?
It could be literally like a 0.001% lead.
Try to connect like that meme where you see the big board. He's trying to connect all the strings to each other.
It's that meme with like all the math problems.
If you even slightly regularly smoke, let's say you smoked once a week, your lungs would not be in shape compared to someone who's never smoked.
No,
like in the last 5 years. Not. Like I'm telling you would have to have smoked so long back to even be on a level playing field again. Unless you would have, I guess you'd have to be eating it, but then even that, like there's just as many cons as there are pros when it comes to marijuana. Like,
well,
you can't be an Olympic performer, best in the world, I mean, you can, but you have to be that much better of a person to even go to that level. And that's what I'm saying. Like the fact that she, or like the previous thing with Michael Phelps, whenever they found out,
Right.
everyone's like, oh, that actually makes me like respect him even more because he was smoking out of bongs and then outbeating everybody. You know how much, how big of a baller move that is? Like, you know how much more.
You know how
out of
scary that is?
beating?
That means he wasn't at 100%.
Yeah, he's an alien, man.
To
I
know
don't
he's going in with a
something else,
disadvantage
man.
and still winning the gold is that's what I'm saying. Like, man, if anything, they should be rewarding these people.
And you shouldn't have smoked, and like even if your mom died, you're gonna seem heartless. You know.
Of course, everyone would handle that differently.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows how you'll react? People can say, I wouldn't do that," and then you're in the position,
Right.
and obviously you
I
never
may
know.
bring up Kanye every episode going forward over a different thing, but this does remind me of he was at the height of his career. He was the biggest superstar to probably exist at the moment. And then his mom dies and he falls into a deep depression. Now everyone, now he has all these problems, all these issues because of something like that. So like,
yeah, and it was so unexpected. That's the worst part of it. He didn't expect. It wasn't like his mom was dying or had a sickness or was super old. It was like, wasn't she doing like plastic surgery and she passed? Yeah, she passed away on the table.
We can see the effects of a parent passing away. Man. That's the prime example. Yeah, sure. Like, so somebody like, can you imagine people being like, "Oh my god, I think Kanye smoked after his mom died."
Craziness. Anyway.
Well, like, that's a dumb way to die. Like, no offense to Kanye, no hate, but like, Kanye,
if you're listening to this, he doesn't mean it, right?
no, but the thing is,
now he turned it off.
You never know, though. You never know who's listening. Kim Kardashian could be listening right now.
All right.
I want to shout out the Inside Byte.
and sends us like pairs of Yeezys.
I think we've beat this topic.
And then one more thing I want to talk about the Olympics. So apparently a big group like in Hong Kong were watching it live and they were like booing the very moment the China anthem starts playing. And then China police were around, heard it, started to investigate, trying to basically figure out who was booing. And in the very moment they can pinpoint the person booing, they're literally just going to throw them in jail over booing over the thing playing. So but crazy, like, they're going in with that much control over the people. Imagine, like, God.
Imagine you boo at a football game.
Yeah.
Hauled off
going to prison for the next 5 years. The Dallas Cowboys are our pride and joy. You do not boo them.
It just blows my mind. I can't believe this isn't even a real thing in this year.
Yeah, I mean, like, China was rolling out with like the social credit thing, where
Black Mirror episode.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say.
Have y'all seen the Black Mirror episode with the social scores?
I have. That was first of all, I love that show. We can do a whole episode on Black Mirror sometime because it's so good. But yeah, that episode terrified me. I'm like, oh my god, can you imagine like you're always being judged and it's affecting all your finances, everything in your life, all based on things you can't even control. Really,
kill yourself, like for real. I don't think I could handle that. They're trying to figure out who booed and all that, and I guess we'll know real soon who exactly did because they're going to be in jail real fast. Because back whenever they were doing that Liberate Hong Kong ordeal, they threw people in jail over that when all that was going on. Back, you remember the Blizzard event that went on?
Yeah.
And then people back in China were doing this whole Liberate Hong Kong thing. And then, and what's funny too is even here in the United States. So if you were putting that into World of Warcraft, they were banning your account. Even still, right now, if you were to put Liberate Hong Kong in WoW, and let's say a moderator saw it, it would be bannable, and then your account's just gone. And the people who play like WoW, I mean, a lot of these, of course, are people like 10, 20 years in, and all of that history is just gone with that account. I'd be.
That's an actual fact. Like, that's been proven.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen cases of that happening, and also I just want to mention that I guess we'll switch into this a little bit. Tencent, the company that we're going to be talking about today, that owns a lot of stake in a lot of different video game developers and different companies. So they own an example you just gave, WoW, right? Obviously, WoW is made by Blizzard, which is part of the Activision Blizzard company, right? So they own a 5% stake. So imagine they own 1/20th of your company, and they're telling you what you can and can't do with your game. what you can put in, what you can't put in. It just blows my mind,
What
man.
I don't get is being like, okay, well, I'll just keep the other 19th and I'm just gonna like not do what you say and still just make
Yeah,
money and just not worry
exactly.
about you. There's definitely more going on.
It's got
It's
to
like
be, man.
mafia.
And
It's literally taking money from the mafia. It's exactly what's happening. Like, you're
the,
struggling, and they're like,
the
"Hey, here's 10 grand. It'll help you get out of this bind." And then what? For the next 30 years, you have to deal with them.
I think that because we're normal people, we can look at this with a clear lens, right? But the way that some people have reacted, like who obviously have a lot of money and China is invested in their profit, it blows my mind. It's like they do a 180. Like I remember when this whole stuff was going on with the NBA and people were China was upset with the message that some people in the NBA were putting out. And then LeBron James comes out of nowhere. You guys just don't understand, all right? There's a lot going on. You guys can't understand. I'm like, "What?" And then John Cena, the John Cena that we all know. This guy, I couldn't believe it. Like he comes out to apologize to them. It was already enough that he's apologizing to them for.
So what the reason was, and it was real dumb. So all he was saying was that Taiwan was a country.
Oh yeah,
That Taiwan was okay. I remember now.
You're not allowed to say that they're their own country and that they even exist
Unbelievable.
because they're independent from China.
Yeah, China's so shady about that kind of stuff. Like, if you look back at old YouTube videos towards the beginning of the pandemic and everything, there's this interview with the WHO, World Health Organization, with a Taiwan reporter. Since China funds WHO, a good percentage of them, Taiwan asked, so if Taiwan gets these viruses, will you fully support Taiwan and help us out, basically? Who representative just acted like his screen froze. And then he's like, sorry, I didn't catch that. And then so she's like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'll just repeat what I said. And then he's like, no, let's just move on. And then he's like, the reporter just goes and just repeats herself. And then the dude just disconnects the screen and just ended the meeting. It's up on YouTube. It's like one of the most viewed videos about like the pandemic that you can see. And it's just so sketch.
The exact same thing happened during the Blizzard event. There was like commentators and they said something about it. They pretended like, wait, and then pretend like he didn't say it. They tried to move on. The guy thought that they just didn't hear him, so he repeated it, and then the feed cut. The exact same thing you were just describing happened during the Blizzard event as well. Because they're not thinking anything much of it. You know how many times like you say something and then you just don't think they hear you and you repeat it. I mean, that's the most common thing ever.
Of course, yeah.
So,
yep. So to come back to the beginning of it, though, when I watched this video of John Cena speaking in Mandarin,
it's the most pathetic thing
apologizing,
it's so pathetic.
It's really wimpy, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like this guy who, for when I used to be back into wrestling, I used to watch him. I was like, man, this guy's the man. He's so awesome. Look at this guy. He's like American hero. That's how I used to think of him. And I'm like, what happened to this guy? Clearly money has gotten the best of him. Yeah, same here.
I mean, as soon as he went into acting, he pretty much sold out to everything.
I didn't even mind
selling out, and then there's that, dude.
Yeah,
right. I don't care if you are money hungry and you want to do every movie and the movie's not even funny. Whatever, do your thing, man. Make your money. But this is a little different to me, like okay, so we all love The Rock, obviously, but The Rock to me is not like some high level actor that I'm like, oh my god, The Rock's acting. Did you see it? No, I just like him in movies. He's fun. He's a cool character. He does a good job, and that's that. But I don't expect some high level acting from him. But then if he does something like this, then obviously I'm gonna be like, come on, I can't respect The Rock anymore.
I'm more curious of what's going on with him now, like because he does know that everyone's just like, yeah, well, fuck you, you are really lame now, and nobody respects you. And then how do you continue your life? He's probably got to be really, really down and really depressed about it all or something.
Only way he could come back from it, I know a lot of people would not change their mind, but if he came back and he said, listen, I don't know what I was thinking, that was dumb, that was silly, I was whatever, I'd be like, okay, at least he acknowledges it. But I don't think he's gonna do that. I think this is just going to be what it is now.
He has too many ties with it. Mm-hmm. So if he were to say something, he can't, unless he goes that hard to basically being like, okay, well, screw China, I'm going to say and basically reject myself from all of that. And he's going to have to, he accidentally commits suicide the next day?
Yeah, that's the other thing is none of these, obviously I think all of us tune into Colin stuff here and there. He's the only person I've heard talking about anything.
Because he's independent, and that's the only reason.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he doesn't care. But not only is he independent, but because I know there's some other companies that are also doing their own thing, but they still, the game journalist thing right now is like a group
Yes,
thing. I think we
yes.
can all agree on that, right? Like the kind of funny guys are not talking about this, obviously, right? Because they want to
I
fit in.
actually don't even think they're allowed. To be honest, I would bet $1
Oh
million
no.
they have some money in, because don't they have money into Rooster Teeth?
Oh yeah.
And then wouldn't Rooster Teeth have money into
You know
it?
what? I think they do.
I
I
don't
think
even
they
think
do.
they
So
would
of
be able to
course,
talk if they wanted to.
obviously all these guys hate Colin for listen, Colin sometimes will post things that are a little like, a
It's
little
not even
poke in the
that
bear. That's
bad.
fine though. You don't have to, it's not that bad at all. It's just like a little like to stir up a
Yeah.
conversation. But yeah, man, it's crazy. So
And that's
anyway,
the thing. Normal people who work a 9 to 5, just
right.
drink their Long Island iced teas after work, could give a rat's ass about this kind of thing because they don't really think
Yeah.
too much
They
into
don't
it.
know. That's the thing.
I mean, yeah,
A lot of people don't know too.
that
Yep.
and plus, what are they gonna do? Could like go on Twitter and start a camper, but like most likely, one person doesn't have the amount of
If you
manpower.
have enough
Yeah.
followers for people to watch what you're doing, you'll already have too much power to where they would have power over you almost. Like you have to
Exactly.
be just small enough to where China can't control you, but big enough for people to hear you. It's such a niche little small pocket of people.
20,000.
Yep.
20,000
It's crazy,
followers.
man.
That's it.
Anything over, China's like, hey, you can't do that.
That's the thing too,
Crazy
like
stuff.
going back free Hong Kong thing, like notice how like at the height of Hong Kong like protests and stuff, the virus came out and then like all of a sudden you don't hear about the Hong Kong protests anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
That's
hey,
definitely true.
you read right where I put it in the notes here. They find you doing it, you're thrown in jail for 9 years minimum.
Yeah.
Who wants to be thrown in jail for 9 years? They're like, I guess I just won't mention the Hong Kong stuff. But the problem is, there actually are for real concentration camps. There actually are for real people getting like their heads scalped, parts sold,
No.
organs sold.
Speaking of concentration camps, like aren't there like Muslim concentration camps like in China right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like active.
The Uyghurs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We'll have to talk about that at some point because there's a whole lot to discuss about that. A lot of people have no
Yeah.
idea.
And a dude
So-
starts talking about it that is huge in China. He's a billionaire and he starts talking about human rights, and he's now currently in jail and has to serve 18 years.
So crazy. And no, God, I don't see how anyone can really.
And money can't get you out. Like this is the Chinese government. It's not like here in America, oh, you got enough money, you can pay whatever lawyers and they can get you out and you get some
Right,
house
right.
arrest stuff. No, you're just in
Or-
prison.
yeah.
There's no if, and, or buts.
Or public outcry in this country can sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes affect things like that. Not over there, I guess. So I feel bad for the guy. I tried to take a stand.
That's why when we talk about other countries and then we compare it to the United States, a lot of like the people that I went to college with or were friends with, they were like, the American government's so freaking fascist, man.
They haven't gotten out enough. They're living like Patrick under a rock, only knowing what's around in their small bubble. And then they think like they can pick out all the little negatives, because you can pick a negative out of anything and then think
Oh yeah.
bad.
Of course.
You're building up on your head, but then you step outside for half a second, you realize what's really going on. You're like, oh, it's not too bad here.
I mean, like they literally just cut off the internet to Cuba.
Yeah.
Like
Dude,
that's the thing.
As a teacher, there's nothing that bothers me more than someone misusing a word, using a word incorrectly and really running with it. Like once they hear it once, they want to use it all the time and they continue to use it with the wrong meaning, because that's what people do with the word fascist. That word doesn't have a meaning anymore. They've changed what it means. Like how many people actually know what that means who say it all the time on Twitter? I guarantee a lot of them are not using it correctly.
I've never even
No.
used the word, and I don't know what it means.
They use it when it comes to like almost anything. And if you want to go by the definition from
I'm looking it up right now. It's just basically like forcible suppression.
right, it's
So I guess it's the problem is that does sound too broad.
it is, but then you have other parts you have to take, like an authoritarianism and ultra nationalism, which some people would
When
argue.
it comes to government,
Go ahead.
when it comes to government, not the term itself, but when it comes to government,
Right.
it's a government structure where you have one dictator and complete control over the whole country.
Exactly.
So that's fascism
know.
when it comes to government talk.
Clearly,
So a good example of fascism would be Joseph Stalin, the communism years.
that irks me whenever people use certain words and they just use it really when they're exaggerating.
Okay, he's spoken out. He's in prison 18 years. China is buying up all these tons of things. So Tencent's like the biggest company. There is other Chinese companies doing the same thing, but Tencent's number one
Right.
at it. just looking up all the companies that they have any stake in. And what I want to say though, whether it's 100% or it's 1%, the fact that they have any money in stake allows them full reign of being able to say you can do this or can't do that. Right. I guess they could technically bail, but that's the big story, that there must be more going on, because if Tencent only owns, there's plenty of companies where they only own like 1%, 5%, something like that. Or there's companies, the Strive. What am I thinking? Guilty Gear Strive that just came out. They have stuff up in the lore. I mean, you have to dig. You have to literally read character lore, and you'll see something mentioning China or anything related to it. And then next thing you know, it's just secretly patched out, and people had to find out after the fact because, of course, they just don't release that. But they don't have any stake in that company yet. They still are responding to China, because so obviously there's more than just like percentiles. So don't get too lost with the percentiles.
Wait, Tim, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to mention it before you keep going. That particular case, I'm pretty sure they did it proactively. Like before anyone even said anything to them, they removed it, right? Wasn't that the case with that one?
So, well, that we know of. But see, that's the thing. Like, what if China did say, "Hey, you got it," and we just don't know, and nobody. How would we even know?
Sure. Yep, you're right.
I'm still stuck on like the percentage one, because it's like, imagine somebody owned 1% of your house.
Yeah, I would be like, dude, like, bye. I don't like.
And then you want to like add something to it, change up the backyard.
You want to have parties. You bring over 100 people and party.
You got 100 people, right? And each one of those owns a section of your house, right? And all 99 people are okay with what you want to do, and one person isn't. Aren't you just going to tell that one person to just peace out? So there's some extra weird hidden layer that I would love to know, because you're forcing me to do something. And you're just one of the 100. Why? You can't, like, I can do whatever I want. I just do what the other 99 want.
I mean, like, when the contract is like written up, like, is there like a specific clause that?
Why would you even sign that then? Why would a company wants to buy 1% to give me some extra money, but in the clause it says that I have to do whatever you say going forward. I'm not signing that.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, it depends like on how desperate some of these companies are, like, for money. Like, I mean, like, even if like the 1%, maybe they're offering like $5 trillion. Like,
I'm scared that China is doing more than what they're showing to the public.
Of course, they're always doing more than what they're showing to the public.
What I'm saying is, maybe it's not even 1%. Maybe it actually is way more money, and they're only putting it in the books as 1%.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, so that's the thing. Like, Chinese people, as one myself, I'm Americanized though, but like a lot of like my older Chinese relatives, when it comes to money and business, let me just say, like, it's a lot of fraud going on.
I totally believe that.
So I went to school for network security, right?
Uh-huh.
And so you have to learn what it's like white hat hacking. You have to learn how to hack so you can defend against the hacking and all of that mess. And what you find out is 70% Chinese, 30% Russian on any backdoor thing, any virus thing, any malware thing, anything relating to anybody trying to get someone else's info. It's either from China or it's from Russia, and it's China more than Russia. And that is the case. And so the more you're doing the schooling, the more you're learning about it, and the deeper and deeper and deeper you go, people are awful. But we have to just realize, of course, it's just like they're in so bad of situations, and they're so desperate to get anything they can possibly can. And they know if they can just scam a person and get money real quick, and that way they have enough money to just do basic needs, that they're going to do it, because they're so desperate for anything that, like, I mean, that's what brings it to them.
It's the whole entire like element of scamming culture, right? It's kind of like just doing what you got to do to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Like living in New York City, like a lot of the tourist traps have like scammers, like those like Asian monk dudes who are like handing out like these Lucky Charm thingies that are literally just like pieces of plastic, and then telling you that they're building a Buddhist temple in Chinatown or whatever, when there's like no like space for a Buddhist temple in Chinatown whatsoever. Like on their clipboard, they always have Sally donated $100 or like Jim donated $200, but realistically, like it's just like a guilt trip kind of thing. Like,
we've all seen the Disney Aladdin movie. I mean, the little thing of him stealing an apple, you know, like that's all you need to know. He's just trying to eat to survive, and that's what all these people are technically doing. The problem is, it's still wrong regardless of how you look at it or how bad. So, but Tencent, they own Riot Games 100%, and of course League of Legends is. I guess it's the biggest game in the world, right?
It's
I want to
pretty
say
big.
it is the biggest.
I don't.
I want to say it's the biggest.
Fortnite.
Out, Fortnite or something.
Fortnite. Yeah, that's actually a good question. Fortnite may have topped it. If not, they're super neck and neck at this point.
Minecraft.
Minecraft is number one. You were close though. League of Legends is number two, according to this quick search I
I
found.
can believe that though. Minecraft's pretty huge.
Minecraft's huge, dude.
You know, that actually gives me some like American pride though. Think about it, like,
yeah.
They don't. Microsoft actually doesn't have any Chinese money because they once you start, you can't stop, and then you're screwed. They know they can't even dabble in it. So Microsoft actually doesn't, and that's the thing. Like, and the fact that they have the biggest, that's kind of cool because Tencent has League of Legends. Then they own 40% of Epic Games. So there's Fortnite right there, right?
Fortnite number 6 on this list, by the way.
Number 6. What about WoW?
Okay, so I'll give you a quick read through. All right. So WoW is number 20.
Damn.
Final Fantasy 14 topped them recently.
I did. I do know that, but I don't see it on this list right now. Anyway, Sea of Thieves 19, Dota 2 18, Black Ops Cold War, Genshin Impact. There you go, Tim, for you.
Dude,
Among
Genshin
Us,
Impact in the
Tom
top
Clancy's-
20? Okay, I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah, I don't. This is one
Yeah,
website, obviously.
still.
I'm just. It says most popular PC games, so maybe they're rating based on that for now. But anyway, we have Rainbow Six Siege, Forza Horizon 4, Overwatch. I'm not surprised by that one. Battlefield 4. I'm not surprised by that one either. People seem.
Okay, wait. I'm surprised over Forza Horizon 4. Obviously, that game's popular, but more popular than what was below
How is
it?
Battlefield like higher than Overwatch?
But remember, this is on PC.
Oh, okay.
So, but then again, even when I'm saying that though, Overwatch is really popular.
Yeah,
on PC,
it is.
So I don't know.
Overwatch is Chinese money, so
Yep. So we got Rocket League, Apex
I
Legends.
guarantee you Rocket League's Chinese money.
Probably. And Apex Legends, EA. Are they
Chinese money, I think.
I don't know.
I think they
Chinese
are.
money is an EA, yes.
Roblox, which I'm not surprised at all.
That's
I know that
Chinese
game's
money.
freaking gigantic. Grand Theft Auto 5.
That is Chinese
that
money
game's
because
just
the Take-Two has Chinese.
That game is the
Yes,
only game to
that's
span 3 generations of consoles.
But anyway, top 5 is, or excuse me, I didn't say 6 was Fortnite.
Chinese
5 is Modern Warfare /
Chinese
Warzone. We
money.
know that's Warzone mainly. Yep. Valorant,
money.
Riot Games. Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, that's
They're
Valve.
they're not. That's cool.
They're not. League of Legends is number 2, and Minecraft is number 1. So
Cool.
So a good
Anyway.
15 of that 20 is probably Chinese.
that's crazy, man.
And gaming actually is now the most popular medium. So outside of TV, movies. So that would blow my mind even 10 years ago, much less, okay, I'm a kid and I'm playing a video game and everyone just sees them as stupid little toys or whatever. If you could go back in time and just shove it in people's faces of like gaming actually did take over as the most popular medium, isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
Remember, like the old days, all the moms would say, "Stop playing video games so much. You're never gonna make money off of this."
And now, God, some people are killing it. I just hope. I know Nintendo's a Japanese company. I know people like to rag on Nintendo, but I don't see Nintendo. I see Nintendo continuing. I love Nintendo always. I see Nintendo continuing to do their own thing in Japan and not being. They don't let people influence them. They do whatever they want, even if it's the most unpopular.
Yeah, they're like Microsoft. They don't have anything. And I want to say, I don't think Sony. That's a good question. I wonder if Sony.
That is a good question about Sony too.
Nintendo
I don't think so.
And Microsoft,
I think console.
no, but Sony's. That's a good question. Sony invests $400 million in Chinese video site Bilibili.
Oh,
So
never mind.
There you go.
Never mind.
Sony is talking for China. All right.
Honestly, though, like the population in China is such a huge like marketing like pool.
That's why they all went to begin with.
Yeah.
That's why Disney was so big into trying to get into China because of that. I get it.
Yeah.
But again, like you're just taking money from the mafia. Like they're going to control the whole rest of your destiny just because you wanted some extra money.
Dude, it's like selling your soul, man. Listen, before we move on from the China stuff, I forgot the most egregious example of this is when The Force Awakens was coming out. What is his name again? The guy who played Finn. What was his name again?
Oh my god!
Why
First
can't
of
I
all,
remember
he got
this?
screwed in Star Wars. He was easily the
He
best
definitely did,
character,
but
and then they just could push it aside and don't care about him at all.
John Boyega, that's who it was. So not only did that happen, but forget that for a second. They also completely redid the poster. They didn't like that the black guy was at the front. They shrunk him down to such a tiny picture, like he's like a
How
D
could
character or
people be
something.
that
It just,
okay with?
and they're okay with it. They're just like completely
We're
cool.
overruling everything. You can't talk about free in China, blah blah blah. But we're allowed
Oh my
openly
gosh.
racist. So Xbox has never passed Sony sales since like even the first half of 360 days, because the second half of 360, PlayStation dominated the rest of it. PS4, they dominated
Right.
that. It's been a long time, dude. This is like 15 years of build up.
It's a big
So
deal.
the fact that they surpassed them in sales this last month, it's way bigger than people are putting off. I don't know. A big comeback, which I'm glad, because I love competition. I definitely want things to ping pong back and forth. If you have one person just constantly dominating, it starts getting very stale and boring and all that mess.
Agreed.
I mean, if you look at the hardware inside the PS5 and like the new Xbox, like the Xbox is definitely the superior system to go with when you're looking for performance.
It's weird. So it has a better CPU and a GPU. It just doesn't have the better SSD that the PS5 has. There's so many games.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of games. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, they couldn't get the 120 going. You had, what was that game where you get to play with the mouse and you get to like customize your gear and all that? It's like little animal. It's like mutant.
Oh, yeah. Biomutant. It had a lot of problems.
PS5, and they were forced to just run at 1080 instead of 4K. Even Returnal only runs at 1080.
Well, God, this is why. And so, Tim, like your case, I know you said you got the Series X and your PC. You haven't upgraded in a while; it's a little lower.
So I got all the current systems.
Right, but in your situation, for at least from what you described to me, if your PC is like right now, my PC is like super high end. So of course, what do I need a Series X for, right? But I think a ton of people, if I didn't have my PC and I had to pick between Series X and PS5, it'd be tough for me. I know the Series X overall, the console, I know I'm gonna have a better experience, especially with third-party games for sure. Especially with everything else. The only thing is, those PS5 exclusives are so. For me personally, I know some people are not hot on all of them, but they're so good to me.
PS5 before I got my Xbox. That was my first priority. I understand, and I'm there with you. Yeah. But I'm just telling you right now, since release to this current moment, it's been what 8-9 months now. My Xbox has been so much better experience. The only reason PlayStation would be because, again, those specific like exclusive games. So that's the big like decision. Like, is that worth everything else?
Yeah, it really depends. For me, it works out. I got the PC, Switch,
you're good. PS5. You're good. I'm talking in that hypothetical if someone's trying to decide they only compete on the console. What do they do?
Right. Nope.
I really don't know. I guess I'm gonna tell them Xbox, but the problem is it is hard for me to be like, no, those PlayStation games are important.
It depends on like what their current gaming setup is, right? Like I mean, like Rudy said, like he has a higher end PC, so he doesn't really have need for an Xbox, and he likes PlayStation exclusives to play. Like I mean, like I'm the same way. Like I have a higher end PC for work and freelancing and stuff like that, and then I have a Switch for like my handheld needs and stuff like that, and then. So I'm really just looking for a PS5.
If you got a high end PC, they're the same games because it's Microsoft. So you're good. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Yep. That's the great thing about it, man. I love that.
It all depends on like what people's like current budget is, what their setup is, what their gaming habits
everyday average person. I mean, we're tech nerds, okay? But the average everyday person, they're going out there and buying a console, and they're choosing between the two, and that's that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like if they don't have a console at all, and it's like their first day outside,
no
the cave,
PC, no Switch, they're buying a new console.
Then, like,
what do they do?
Like an Xbox, like the new Xbox.
Yeah, the Xbox would probably be the better choice. They want to get Game Pass. They want to. It just seems like a smarter idea in that case. And again, we have to remember, even if we're part of these Facebook groups and everything, we're the vast minority. Like, what do these Facebook groups have? Like thousands of people in them. How many people are buying these consoles in the whole world? Like, come on, it's nothing.
Like millions.
So we never saw the total
Right.
number on Xbox, but we just saw the total number on PlayStation, so we can judge off of that. It just hit 10 million. So people are saying they still can't get a hold of them, but it just hit 10 million. Bruh, when the PS4 came out, you know how it took a while to hit 10 million, not anywhere close to how soon this is. So they're pushing it way faster than they've ever done in the past.
Could those numbers be inflated by flippers though?
But wait, hold on. No. I have a rebuttal to that. Think about it. Either let's think of the two scenarios. Either A, the scalpers don't buy them and people buy them, and we're in the same position we're in now, or the scalpers buy them. No scalper is sitting on the stuff and not flipping them at the height of the. When there's demand, they're selling them. If there's no demand, they're not going to sell anyway, right? So I feel like those numbers are not really skewed, if that makes sense. You know,
the scalper doesn't matter in the equation, because let's say they're trying to sell it at 900, nobody buys it at 900. Okay, they're gonna have to lower it to 800. Okay, now someone buys it at 800. Okay, now it's sold. Like, what are they gonna sit on it for 4 months at their $1,200, hoping for one person to buy?
Right.
There's probably like low end like hobby scalpers, and then there's probably like high end tech scalpers. Yeah. Like, you never know. You could see somebody like drop 20K on like, say, like 20K worth of PS5s and then just flip them, you know?
If there's demand for it to sell at these ridiculous prices, then that's going to be a sale immediately, you know? So I don't really feel like it's going to change anything. I'm trying to explain it the best I can. It's a weird thing, though. Like, if the scalpers are able to get away with, I'm gonna buy 5 PS5s and sell them each for $900, and they sell at $900 each, they're not inflating anything because the demand is there. Right, that's what they're worth. Now, if they try to sell it at, like Tim said, if they try to sell it at $900, they're not gonna sit there and keep that 900 price tag on there for a month. They're gonna adjust accordingly to the market. They're not gonna sit. They want to sell it. You know, that's what they're in the business for.
What you're saying is pretty much like what the scalpers buy is already what the numbers are.
Exactly, it would have been bought, or it's being bought by someone who wants one who would have bought one.
If we were only 2 months in, you could say that excuse, and you could in the beginning.
Right.
But we're 9 months in. So the scalper has already sold the unit at this point.
Yep.
But that's the thing. Like, online, if you look up for PS5s or anything like that, eBay still like $900.
Because right when they list it, it sells out.
It's crazy, man. And I guess you could say this. You could say that maybe at any given time, if you look at the PS5 numbers while this is going on, maybe they're slightly off, like at this exact moment.
Let's say 9 million instead of 10 million, but there's no way it would be a million offset. But I'm just being
right. But it's still going to be the number that they're broadcasting. Maybe it'll just take another few weeks, you know.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's impressive, man. It's weird because they say, we can't make them fast enough, and PS4 at this time was not, like Tim said, not nearly as high. So the only other system doing crazy numbers like this is the Switch, which I think it's so funny whenever people like, listen, Nintendo does some things that really annoy me. Meanwhile, like a lot of things they do, but people have been saying Nintendo's going to go out of business for like 25 years now. Okay, I hear it all the time. And the Switch is like, what is it like? Switch is like over 85 million units now, or something ridiculous like that. Like, Jesus, that might be. Who knows where that's going to end up? I guess that depends how long they push it.
But it's world record numbers. So.
Video games are doing pretty good. Let's just put it that way.
And then Horizon Forbidden West. So it's not like official. But there's about
it's not official
10 stories.
Right. And Jason Schreier, which he's usually
posted today or last night, technically. And so it's all new stuff. Of course, people are going to sit there and say, oh, it's probably going to get delayed. And even they themselves wasn't quite sure on it. But to see them all popping right now, I just wanted to mention, even that's so fresh of news. I'm sure tomorrow we may see the official statement and everything, and maybe I should have waited.
Yeah.
But this is a little preemptive, but all I'm saying is I'm pretty confident this is true.
I would agree with you. I would not be surprised whatsoever. This has happened, a few times now, so I guess next year will be pretty stacked up.
Well, it's that and God of War, but they're both PS4 and PS5, so we still don't really have a PS5 game yet to look forward to.
So weird. Only PS5 games I've played, only PS5, were, as of right now, Demon's Souls, Ratchet & Clank, and Returnal. Now, of those games, could I see them, if they really wanted to, could I see them downgrading Demon's Souls and maybe even Returnal?
I could see that.
Demon's Souls, I could see. I could see Demon's Souls.
Ratchet.
I don't think Ratchet. Yeah, Ratchet. it's tough to tell because people say stuff like this, and then it happens. Like Resogun can only run on a PS4.
No, the only reason I think it can't. Well, they would have to basically like work around the game. It could, but they would have to take out the segments of the game where 2 instances are running at once, because that's the problem.
Right,
You
exactly.
can't do that with last gen tech. You can only do it with an SSD where 2 things run at once, unless it's not for real actually running two worlds at once. So in games in the past, like Titanfall 2, you could do a thing where you could go between the two or something like that, but it wasn't actually real time, both rendering at once, where Ratchet is. And then the same thing with the Medium that does the same thing. They're both actually real time running 2 instances of the game at the same time.
Right.
So
right.
who wants to go first on what they're playing right now and watching?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So what I'm playing right now is literally Hearthstone. I need game recommendations that are current. Actually, no, Hearthstone and just like Call of Duty, like multiplayer.
Call of Duty, which
Pretty
one?
much.
Cold War?
Not Cold War. Warzone.
Oh, okay. Do you, with battle royales, is that a thing you play a lot of? Like, let's say before Warzone come out, were you playing battle royales?
I only play multiplayer in there. The battle royale thing is
so you're not
like
playing
my cup of
Warzone,
tea.
then you're playing. Maybe you're playing Modern Warfare.
Yeah, the regular Modern
Okay.
Warfare. Yeah. So what I'm watching right now is actually like multiple things. The last thing I watched was 7 Deadly Sins, like the latest season on Netflix. Really good anime to like get into. And then the last movie I saw was Black Widow.
Nice. Man, we got to talk about that whole thing going on with
I
Black
still
Widow.
haven't watched it, and I mean, I don't want to spoil it on the podcast anyway, so we're not going to talk about spoilers.
Yeah, no, we won't.
Right.
I mean, is it even? I'm sure it's okay, but is it good? Is it like, oh my god, I need to go watch it?
I thought it was actually good.
Yeah, I would say it's better than Captain Marvel. Iron Man 2 was better.
I'd say it's definitely better than those like low tier Marvel movies. For
Like
sure.
what
Let's start
low
there,
tier
right?
Marvel?
Like Thor, the first
Okay.
Thor movie, or Captain Marvel, or the Hulk movie. Yeah. So okay. So let's start there. Now, if you go a little higher,
what about Doctor Strange? I love Doctor Strange.
I personally like this better than Doctor Strange, but I wouldn't put it up there with like Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, or Captain America 2. It's not that good, but it falls somewhere in the middle. A movie that I would put it close to in terms of how much I liked it was like Ant-Man. Like I thought Ant-Man was a pretty solid movie. It was a fun movie.
I would say
cool.
I would say it's like a tier below Homecoming.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's reasonable. It wasn't a bad movie at all. I was actually impressed and it didn't follow the normal Marvel formula either. That's what I really liked about it.
I would say the sister carried the whole movie with comedic value.
She was great. She was great, man. And what's his name from Stranger Things was good too.
So Black Widow's sister,
the father. Yeah, Black Widow's sister was in it. She was great. And then the father. Why can't I remember his name from Stranger Things? The dad.
Oh,
David.
I like him. He's in
something.
That's cool.
What the heck is his? What's his name?
He plays the Russian Captain America. Like I think he's like the Red Guardian.
Well, Red Guardian. That's his name. But what's his real name? Let me see. David Harbour. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah,
David Harbour.
I love that actor.
Yeah, he's awesome. So if you like him, and you'll definitely, I would be shocked if you didn't like the sister that they introduced, because she's just a really fun, cool character. And then Scarlett Johansson does her thing. She's fine, But it's cool because it touches on some more.
What are they even trying to tell right now? Where's this leading?
Okay, this starts off. I don't know.
They're forming the Thunderbolts.
Did y'all watch WandaVision?
I did watch WandaVision.
I don't know where they're going with it, but I loved WandaVision because they did the whole, like every 10 years of like a TV show, what was big at the time, like emulating that style.
Yeah. Everyone was watching it. I actually really liked the next show too, the Falcon and Winter Soldier. I know a lot of people weren't as big on that, but I really enjoyed that show. I didn't watch Loki.
I watched the first episode and it was kind of boring, and I just kind of dropped it. But
yeah, you gotta keep going with it. It gets better. Yeah, WandaVision was. I was showing my wife that, and she was like, "What do you have me watching right now?" I'm like, "Don't worry, it gets good. Keep watching." And like 2 episodes in, she's like, "What the hell is going on right now? This is not even entertaining." I'm like, "Oh god." It's super slow.
No, literally, I had to skip. I had to skip the first 3 episodes.
Okay, so Black Widow, what is she trying to do? What is she trying to accomplish?
First of all, it touches on her past. It starts off in like, I don't know, the 90s or something, right? It shows, when she was a kid, what happened, how she ended up getting the training that she gets, which I won't delve too much into. Then you fast forward, then it's kind of showing what's going on right after Civil War. When the Avengers are all broken up, they're kind of on the run. Some of them are fugitives. It's showing what she's doing at that time and what kind of inspires her, I guess you could say, to come back and get the Avengers back together. And it's just like a little side story, but it gives a lot of background on her. And
but the whole movie's in that time period.
Yeah, but Ryan, remind me if I can't remember. At the end of the movie, without saying what it is, isn't there like a stinger that leads to something more recent, if I remember? What is the time period again? Why can't I remember this? I'm gonna have to look this up again. Okay, so yeah, so it ties together with the current day somehow. Just for some reason I couldn't remember. But oh, now I remember. I just looked it up. Okay. Yeah, I can't really say much, but yeah, it ties back together with the current day, and then it goes from there. But I think it's definitely worth watching. Obviously, it's not current the whole movie, but
no,
I think it's worth watching.
Like
it's pretty
story.
good.
I'm cool with that. And then just real fast, I just wanted to add the Scarlett Johansson suing Disney because they were streaming Black Widow.
Oh yeah,
it was only supposed to be just theatrical releases, which they did, but at the exact same time, put it on streaming. She didn't agree for them to do that. She specifically said she didn't want that, and they did it anyway. But that's the thing, like, Disney's a part of the whole China thing. Hey, what? Like, if she fights it too hard, like, okay, she's not gonna win.
But this is pretty cut and dry, right? Like, there's no debate.
She really going to get pushed off a cliff.
Disney will put it out in the movies for a certain amount of time and then stream it, and they didn't do that. That's it, right? I mean,
I just don't know how she wins that, though. Obviously, it's a clear-cut case. I'm just saying, like, look who you're fighting against.
Yeah, you're fighting against Disney. But she said she estimates that she lost upwards of $50 million. And I could probably see that because her pay was based on how the theatrical release went. And, rich or not, $50 million. I mean,
Disney is pretty much China, is what I'm saying.
If a movie comes out and you're already subscribed to a streaming service, would you rather take the trip to go outside to go to like the theaters?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm already at home, then yeah, of course I'm gonna be more likely to watch it at home. I love the theater, but yeah, out of convenience.
If in her contract it literally states like Disney can't stream it until after a certain time the movie's been out in theaters, then like she wins the case.
He's like,
unless the mouse pushes her off the cliff.
She wins the case technically. What I'm trying to imagine is China. Okay, Disney, but China's even over Disney. And China admitting that they did something wrong. That's where my disbelief is like, I don't see them doing that.
Yeah,
Back to the whole China being racist thing. Also, the Chinese culture is very misogynist.
They're just like, shut your mouth.
And like her being a woman,
yep.
Bought that like Dead Space game, scary as $5, dude. It's so scary.
Try and turn that thing off right away.
Like 30 minutes into the game, I was just like,
don't even look at it like that, man. I know it's a scary game, but try to enjoy it because, man, games like that don't come around very often.
I listened to the last episode. I should have mentioned what makes Dead Space so great. Like we were saying, atmosphere, but why? So you're a normal just engineer dude, and what makes it cool is you're just using engineering tools the whole game.
Yeah,
I think the scary part is that it's so close to real life that it's like unsettling.
Oh
yeah, right.
Let's transfer over to Halo, Rudy, because I know you're playing it, but we were just playing the little test. But there was a weapon in there.
Oh yeah,
did you get to mess around with it? Where it's almost that Dead Space weapon.
Oh, wait.
I don't know what it's called, but it's exactly Dead Space weapon where it shoots horizontally like 4 little strings.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. You can turn it left and right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I did see that one. That's pretty awesome.
Dead Space weapon into Halo.
We should mention real quick that we did try the I guess you can't even call it a beta really. It's like a technical preview or whatever. But yeah, the little bit that we played. Now, mind you, I started off like my first exposure to this and everyone else was that multiplayer trailer they showed like a month ago or so, or however long it was, and I was pretty impressed. I was like, this looks pretty good, but obviously you can make anything look good when you're presenting it at a Microsoft show. Okay, fine. So we try out the tests. I tried last night, I couldn't get it. I know Tim did, but we played this earlier today, and I gotta say I'm really impressed. Like, obviously you have to go into this and be reasonable. Like, I see people complaining online, oh my god, why is it not running perfectly, and why is it like, come on, you have to understand, there's a lot of people, this is a stress test. But all that aside, the movement feels great. It feels like a combination of like something between Halo 5 and Halo 3, which in my opinion are the two best multiplayers for Halo. They took out some things that people felt were not Halo, which is like the ground pound that you could do in Halo 5, for example. You jump in the air, you hold the button, come flying down, or the running sprint like push that would kill people in one hit if you hit them from behind.
What do you think about sprinting in this new game in general?
So so far, I don't have a problem with it. I was always the kind of guy who like Halo 3, that's the best. It's the purest, no sprinting, whatever. But if they can mix it in and not make it where it's something, I guess what I like about Halo is everyone's on even ground. It's not, hey, Tim has sprint because he has this loadout that's the scout and he runs fast and has this, this, and this. I don't really like that as much. I think this is way
Agree.
better. I think everyone start off on even ground. We can all sprint, we can all melee, we can all jump, we
And
can
they
all
do that.
clamber, and that's it. And then besides that, it comes down to, are you watching the overshield? Are you watching the rockets? Are you watching the power weapons? And then you work as a team. I love that. I think that's so much better. I've seen people say like, oh, if it doesn't have a loadout, that's bad
No.
design. That's old school design. I'm like, you're crazy. Have you ever played Doom? Doom is pick up weapons on the ground and fight for your life. It's
I
awesome.
don't want that. Obviously, Halo, they give a million options when you go into like custom games and stuff. And of course, you could then select
Sure.
like, okay,
Well,
what
yeah.
two weapons you start with, but that's about it. But no, it's not doing
Right.
classes or loadouts or any of that.
Exactly. I think that's good for Halo. I think they're trying to do a little tightrope walk here, and I think they're doing a good job so far. Don't make it feel too much unlike Halo, but add some things in that are more modern, like sprinting, for example.
They're doing exactly what I would want
Yeah.
them to do because you need to update it somewhat. You just can't go too far. And they found the perfect thin line.
So happy about it, man. It makes me so. I know you're excited about it too, but man, I've been a fan of Halo multiplayer mainly, and that'll segue me into this next thing. But I've only been multiplayer forever with Halo since probably 2, and I've been all about I'm learning the meta, everything. So this one feels great, and the level design, even that one level, I haven't gotten tired of it. I've played it like 10 times already. To move on to what I was going to say next, what I'm playing. So I'm currently playing all the Halo campaigns, and I'm trying to like make a whole, since I have the summers off, I'm still tutoring here and there, but I have a lot more time. So I'm trying to take the time, and I'm like, okay, well, every summer, what's my project with video games, right? Last summer, I was trying to do Kingdom Hearts. I got a few games in. I really enjoyed it.
What did you beat?
So I got like the collections,
Yeah.
where they remastered everything, all that. Okay, so here's the thing. I played Kingdom Hearts 1 first. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was pretty good. I did like all the side stuff. Took me a while. Then I played Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, which everyone told me, it's not a good game. But I don't know. I played it. It was tough at first, and it ended up growing on me. I ended up getting really into the card system. I replayed it again with the other character. Forgot his name. Riku, was it? I think.
The GBA game was a lot better. The problem is that's hard to like.
Right. Of course. So I played those two, and then I moved on to 2. And I had just started 2. I was like kind of confused, like what's going on here? And then school was starting soon, and I kind of dropped off of it. So I'm gonna go back to that. But anyway, I just say that to mention that every summer I always try to pick like a series and play through them. So anyway, Master Chief Collection is what I'm doing now. So here's my goal. Ready? I want to do Halo 1, 2, 3, and I'm going in order of release. 1, 2, 3. Then Halo Wars came out next, which I want to play that too. Then Halo 3 ODST. Then I believe it's those 2 little spin-off ones. They're like twin stick shooters. They're like Halo Spartan Strike, Spartan's Assault. Then you got Halo 4, and then you have Reach. Or did I mix those up? I think Reach comes first, then 4, and then 5, and then Halo Wars 2. So my goal is to play all those. And I've been playing. I'm just finished 3. I'm on the final mission of 3 last night. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying it, man. The way they remastered it all those years ago, it holds up. It feels good to play. And yeah, I'm having a good time, man. So I'm gonna play through all of them, and then hopefully be ready for Halo Infinite to get the story. Because I've never been able to play a Halo campaign and enjoy it. I usually go straight into multiplayer. So
I don't think there's any reason to play the first Halo Wars because the second Halo Wars is just the first but better.
So much better. Yeah, but I think that's exactly why I want to. I want to see how it goes. And it's not long. Like I know normally RTS games are super long, but this is like an 8-hour game. I'm like, okay, it's whatever. I'll try it out. And then and I hear Halo Wars 2 is really good, so I'm excited to play that. But yeah, man, I'm all Halo these days, trying to catch up on that.
When you do start playing Halo Wars 2, I would love to like play some PvP against you, or we do like us two and 2 other people, whatever. Even if we got to play computers, I don't care. But I'm always dying for somebody to play that with, and no one ever wants to play it. And it's like,
yeah, sounds good, man. Yeah, I'm just kind of annoyed that it's not on Steam. I know people say, what's the big deal, whatever, but man, I just have my whole collection on Steam, so it would be nice to have it there. But anyway, I'm gonna keep going with probably start Halo Wars maybe tonight, depending. I'll probably play some Infinite, but we'll see. But on a lesser note, I bought Skyward Sword. I've always loved Skyward Sword. I know the way Zelda works is the game comes out and people have all these bad things to say about it, and then they flip flop, or the opposite, they have all these great things to say about it, and then they start hating it over the years. It just seems to be the way of Zelda. I've always loved Skyward Sword, so I grabbed this remaster. I'm enjoying it. It's just something I play here and there. I'm not like rushing through it. Did you get that, Tim, or no?
I'm going to get it. I actually like Skyward Sword. I never beat it because
Me
I
too.
lost my save file. It was right at the
Gross.
it's like the second time you visit the desert area, and
Oh
that's where
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
lost my
I
save because
remember.
I got the Wii U at that time, and I was doing a system transfer, and that was the one game that somehow didn't transfer over.
Oh
I don't know,
God,
and I just straight up lost my
that
save.
sucks, man.
So I have yet to play it, but I was having fun. I had no issues with. I mean, I guess I could sit there and figure out what the issues were, and I can nitpick a few things.
Of course.
But it's no like 10 out of 10, but I would give it an 8 or 9.
I really loved it because it was the first Zelda game I played that had an actual really incredible story, which is not usually that common with Zelda. Zelda stories are usually very simple. I thought the story in this game was actually really excellent. So I love that about it. And then I just thought the dungeons were so well done, which is like,
Dungeons were probably like some of the best dungeons in Zelda, period.
oh
Like,
yeah,
I actually
yep,
think you can factually
totally.
say that. And then the
Yeah,
same
no.
with you remember the bit where you have to fight that huge black monster? I
Oh
love
yeah,
that
the
part.
what is it called? The
Yeah.
Forbidden or whatever. Yeah, I didn't honestly, a lot of the complaints people have about Skyward Sword, it just blows my mind. I never really had those issues. I don't know.
And it's 60 FPS now.
Yeah, it feels good. I personally liked the motion controls back in the day. I felt
Yeah,
like it
what
was
are you
really
doing?
cool to actually swing the sword around like that. So now it on the Switch, because I have the Switch Lite and you can't take the
Okay.
Joy-Cons off, obviously I just play it right on there. But the way they've come up with a really smart way to allow you to do things. Like for example, you press what would be left bumper on the Xbox One controller to you press and hold that, and then you can move the joystick and you'll move the camera. If you're not pressing that,
So
pressing the
not the
joystick swings your
trigger?
sword. No, not the trigger,
Okay.
the bumper. So if you hold the bumper as you're moving the right joystick, it'll swing the camera around you. And then if you just press the joystick without holding the bumper, it swings your sword, if that makes sense. And
I can see myself just resetting the camera a ton.
yeah, it really hasn't been bad for me. You'll see when you try it out. And the last two are, well, I'll do No Man's Sky first because I want to talk about the other one for a sec. No Man's Sky, I've obviously we know about this game. We know the story. The game came out, was overhyped. A lot of people were very disappointed with it. But it seems like the game's been being worked on for what, like 4 or 5 years now, probably. My brother grabbed it on PlayStation and he just called me. He's like, "Hey, I got this game. You want to play it?" Like, all right, let me see how much it costs. It was really cheap. I grabbed it. It's a fun game to just sit down and play with someone. It's pretty cool, especially these days on a high-end computer. It's cool. I'm sitting there, we're mining resources, we're building things, we're flying together. It's just a fun little game. Nothing crazy.
This is one of those many examples, and that's why, like, I think once you start getting into the Game Pass ecosystem a lot, like the more you use it, the more you appreciate it. So No Man's Sky is up in there. But here's what's cool. So I on my PC, I have a VR headset, and so I play No
Gotcha.
Man's Sky in VR, and it's amazing. And what's really cool is sometimes I don't want to on my Xbox because it shares the exact same save files, account, and all that. So I download a PC then, and then whenever I want to like sit on the couch and play it, I can do that and go in between the two. And this is the case with a lot of games, but especially being able to go between VR on my PC, then sit on the couch and go back to the normal way of playing. And I'm continuing right where I left off. It gives that like thing where we love about the Switch to where it's just very versatile of like I eat this stuff up. That's why I'm saying like with my phone and all that too. I'm always trying to find ways to like if I can get the same thing on like a lot of different experiences but continue where I left off without having to restart, then it's like one of my favorite, I
Right.
don't know, gaming endorphins I could have.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get that, man. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool how things have progressed. But yeah, I play that just here and there with my brother whenever we get a chance. And then lastly, I'm playing this game. Okay, I'm playing this game Elder Lilies. It's actually the whole title is like Elder Lilies Quietest of the Night. Some really weird name. Now, this game was completely off my radar. I had not even heard of this and my friend was telling me about it. And I checked it out and dude, I'm super into this game. It's if I had to describe it, you guys know Hollow Knight, obviously. It's kind of like Hollow Knight, like that Metroidvania style, like a map you discover, you got to get the new skill, right? But it's like really beautiful looking game. Like the graphics are awesome. It looks very, very nice when you're playing it. It's just like visually appealing, and then the music is really great, and it's challenging. So you put all those things together, you got a good like 20-hour game that's It's just a nice, fun game to play. I would really suggest checking it out if you guys are looking for a new game. Dry, I know you're looking for new games. That'd be like a perfect Switch game because it's like a pick up, explore a few areas, fight a boss, and die. Okay, let me put it down. So yeah, highly recommend that one. It's really good.
No, I think it's 120 frames because
it might be. It might be.
I'm looking it up and it says over 60, like a 60 FPS plus, and then whenever they say that on Xbox, they're implying 120.
Yeah, it's really if you like, somewhat of a challenging games. I'm not talking about it's like beat your head against the wall, but you gotta learn from your mistakes when you die and stuff.
So it's 2D side scroll or like Metroidvania.
Yep, okay. Exactly. What I like about it, listen, I love the Souls games, but it's refreshing to play this one. And when you die, you start at the nearest bench. That's what they're called, but you don't lose anything. It's just like, okay, I have to get back there, but it's not far. So it's kind of, it's not as punishing really, but it is still a challenge. And the boss fights are really cool, and it tells a like nice little story. But it's told in like a fragmented way. Pick up this paper here and this thing here. You know what I mean? Like one of those kinds of stories. Definitely cool though. If you're ever looking for a new game, it's cheap too. I think it's like $20 or something.
It's 25
maybe. Yeah, totally worth it, man. But besides that, just to wrap it up, things I'm watching. This is the problem, man. Every time I get a free chance, I always want a game. Like I used to be so much bigger into watching TV. I still am big into watching TV, but it's usually if I'm watching with my wife or something like that. But these 3 shows I'm juggling. Just whenever I have a chance, I'll watch. And they've both been out. All 3 have been out for a while, especially the first and the third, The Witcher and Castlevania. But I think I'm on episode like 4 of The Witcher. Love it. It's great. Just, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. It's like Game of Thrones, except it even does some things I like better, to be honest. And I like the game and the books. Castlevania. Now I watched Castlevania when it first came out. The first season I watched, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. But then I just didn't keep up with it. I know the next few seasons came out. Whatever. I started watching again maybe like 2 or 3 days ago. And I was like, how did I not get into this last time? This is awesome. Like it's super brutal. It's like it like reminds me of the video games. It's got good acting, good animation. I'm about to finish season 1 again, like 4 episodes. I just sat down for a few hours the other day and watched the first 4 episodes again. Because the first season was super short, 4 episodes only, obviously. But for some reason, I just had forgotten how good that first season is. And my brother, when I was talking to him about it, he tells me it gets better and better.
It's way better.
I can't wait, man. I'm excited. So yeah, man. That's all
second season is like, I would say the first is better than the second, but that's also kind of hard because there's 4 episodes compared to like the 8 or whatever.
I think it's
the second is a lot meatier, but because of that, I guess like the pace isn't as fast. Anyway, but the third season is like the best of both worlds. There's so much going on in every episode. There's a bunch of episodes. Like season 3 is like the peak.
Speaking of shows with weak second seasons, but strong first seasons, is Promised Neverland, the anime. It's on Netflix. It's something to check out. I watched all of it, the first season, and it's dubbed too. So, I mean, like if you like dub more than sub, it's worth a watch. It's basically about this orphanage where these kids just show up at, and all of them want to be adopted, and then like some of them slowly become adopted and like go on and try to accomplish their dreams and stuff. But realistically, the orphanage is actually a livestock farm to farm children for demons to eat.
So Rudy, did you ever play Tales of Symphonia?
I did.
It is literally the plot of Tales of Symphonia.
Oh, really?
About it,
dude.
I don't know how long it's been since you played that, but okay, so they have a human farm in that game.
You know what? You're right. It's coming back to me now. Holy crap. I do remember now.
Feed the people to the demons.
I remember when you go to that area and it all starts clicking. Yeah. You're like, oh my God, what is going on? I remember I played it as a kid. No, now I remember what you're talking about. Yeah. Yep. That's crazy. Tales of Symphonia needs its money back.
That anime stole content.
And they literally call it a human farm in the game.
Yeah.
And they don't even like shy away from it. They just straight up tell you they're eating them.
Oh my God.
The caretaker of this orphanage is that she grew up in the orphanage. Like she was one of the kids, but then she was too smart. The demons were like, we'll give you a caretaker role. Like you're valuable enough for us not to consume. It's called Promised Neverland.
No,
it's on
you're like
Netflix.
I don't know, probably the 8th person to tell me to watch this.
It's interesting. It's interesting enough for me to like go and not wait on the second season and go online and actually read the manga, But then, like, once I read past season 1, I'm just like, this is weird. So I stopped.
Go for it.
So Master Chief Collection
All right.
actually was playing through, and I laughed whenever I first saw that you wrote that. So
Uh-huh.
weirdly enough, like I always had this thing with Halo 4 that I just really liked, and I couldn't quite nail what it was. So I always wanted to like go back to it, but I beat it when it originally came out. But that's still like end of 360 days, and it's been a long time. So I went back playing it, and I'm like, yeah, I was right, because I was playing a little bit of 1, a little bit of 2, a little bit of 3. I do think 4 is probably like it's my favorite campaign of them.
Okay.
And
I'm looking forward to it.
have you ever played it at all?
No, I've only played multiplayer.
Okay, so the multiplayer is
played the
crap.
campaign.
Like you can forget all about that.
Yeah, it
But,
was
I mean,
alright.
Master
Not
Chief
my
Collection,
not
you
my
can
favorite.
select whatever and all that, and then you're good, and you're not like stuck to the game or whatever. So it's kind of different playing Master Chief Collection multiplayer, and then not really you don't have to stick them to the games anymore. But now that it's all separate and you're just selecting the game and a campaign, like
So
yes. But Halo 4's campaigns, like the strength of the campaign, so much is said, so much happens.
I
It's
can't
so
wait.
deep. I think the pacing is perfect because there's so many lulls in the previous ones to where you're going a ways and nothing really happens and not really that epic. And then of course the epic moments happen, but in 4 it seems like every level there's a huge epic moment and you're like on the edge of your seat. Like I don't know, I have so much fun with 4.
All right.
Anyway,
Hold on, let me ask you real quick, just because I'm curious. So in 1, 2, and 3 that I've played so far, they were fun, they were enjoyable,
kind of
but
boring.
the stories sometimes, yeah, they were losing me a little bit. It was very like kind of just one note, you know. So 4 is not like this.
Not
You're
like
saying.
it at all. It feels so different than the
Okay.
others.
Okay.
But
Cool.
that's the thing,
All right.
and then that's why I had a lot of hype on 5, and then 5's the worst campaign of them all.
That's what I've heard people say too. I'm so curious to see how I react to 5 with no
4 is like
sort
it's
of.
so weird because 4 is like the height for me, and then 5 couldn't be any worse. But
Oh my god, that's
anyway,
funny. All right. Anyway, keep going.
now that you can play them all at 120 frames, and it looks all nice and pretty, Halo 4 looks like a game just dropped
can't
today.
wait.
Like, oh, it's a new game drop. Play it. It's so good. Anyway, all right.
Super excited about that.
Microsoft Flight Simulator. I wouldn't even call it a game. All I know, it's like the most impressive tech I've ever like laid my hands upon. It is so impressive.
Crazy, man.
Did you screw around on your computer? It's one
Not
of the
yet.
highest demanding PC games that exist.
I gotta try
I just
that out,
don't
man.
get how. So I have a Series S, not even an X, and keep trying to get an X when it lists, but again, they sell in like 5 seconds, and it's so hard to get. Anyway, so I'm battling that. And the only reason I got the S is because I stood in line at GameStop, like day one release, overnight kind of situation. But it runs and looks so good on there, and I try to play it on my computer. I mean, I have a 580 RTX AMD, so it's old now or whatever, but it's still like a gigabyte card, and I just don't get how an Xbox Series S is so leaps and bounds above my PC. It's $300, runs it no problem, and it looks incredible. And I try to run on my computer, and it's sitting there like chugging at like 15 frames a second, even if I put it at like 1080. I don't know. I don't get it. All I'm saying is I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so realistic and perfect. And the assist is great. So you can go all the way to like no assist at all, to where you actually have to hit every little button that a pilot would have to. You could actually like look up a manual to a plane and follow the manual to a T and do the exact same thing in Flight Simulator, and you'd be able to fly it.
It's nuts,
but
man.
obviously I'm not playing
so
that
crazy.
way, because I'd have to spend the next 2 years of my life training to become a pilot.
right.
So you can it defaults it at a pretty good level of like not too easy, not too hard, or whatever. It's
gotcha.
I would say play with the controller. A lot of people are going to say no, play with the keyboard, because you get more options, but it's a lot harder. And I just say just play with the controller, dude, because what makes the game great is not like how it feels. Yeah, that's cool if you want to go down that road of learning it, but being able to fly anywhere in the world. Like I went to the pyramids because we were talking about that, and was like circling around them and really checking how it looks in current day. I do want to say one thing. We were saying how perfect they were. So I'm flying around them and I'm like, oh, well, they're not perfect anymore. They're decaying pretty bad. Like, there's cracks all down it. Parts are falling off. I don't know why, but I just have this thing in my head, like I was just gonna fly to them and they were gonna be perfect or something. And I'm just like, oh well, that's not the case anymore. And there's like city right next to it with a I don't know, just being able to put context into everything of like you want to go somewhere in the world and you don't really know how that spot really looks, but now you can just go there and just really check it out for yourself and just circle around it. And I took a flight from like Pensacola where I live to LA, and so I did that whole flight. I definitely like crashed a few times and had to restart. And you can see on the map where your friends are playing and you'll see where they're at. You can actually fly to where they're at. Now, because it's like real life, like, okay, if a flight takes 2 hours to get there, it's going to take you 2 hours to get there in the game. You're not speeding it up. So it is a serious ordeal. Now, you can just spawn wherever you want just to check out areas. But I'm just saying, if you actually want to take the flight, you're actually taking the flight from the runway to the thing. They model all of the airports. You have thousands of airports all over the world that you can select from and actually view. And because they're just pulling satellite images of it all. It's not like you're just using images so it can just run whatever. It is like textures and 3D models and stuff on top of it. So anyway, but
Gotcha.
it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I just don't get how it was running on that Series S. And then I've been playing Bug Tales. Have any of y'all played this?
I've seen it. It looks like a homage to Paper Mario, right? Like on
It's pretty much the sequel to 1,000 Year Door. No, it's not the same characters or story. All I'm saying is, if you ever played 1,000 Year Door, it feels exactly like that. But honestly, like, it's a lot better because it came out way later, and they basically were able to improve all the little things that they didn't quite do in that game. The combat system is actually like, I don't want to say hard, it's just complicated. Like, you really have to think through everything, and you can't just be mashing A. If you were to just bullshit it, like if you were playing Paper Mario, you can kind of crap on the game a little, not try too hard. This game actually really makes you focus, and the battle system is one of my favorite things about the game. But when I kept seeing it, it was one of those games that came out when the Switch came out, so it got a lot of highlight then. But I always was like, ugh, I was so repulsed by it. It looks awful. I hate bugs. I didn't like the style of it. I just thought it looked cheap and stupid. And I've been like crapping on it anytime I see it, but I see so many people talking about it. And then it pops up on Game Pass, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to buy it because it's like, I think it's $25 normally. So I'm like, okay, well, I might as well try it because like I'm such a huge Paper Mario fan. And then next thing I know, it's like one of the best games I've played in so long. I'm so happy. Yes. Now I'm telling a million people, please play it.
It's like you become a believer.
Don't let the style get to you. And then you realize the style's not even bad. Like, and it kicks off fast. It's not one of those games like, oh, give it an hour or two. The first 10 minutes, you're like, oh, okay, I love this game. Like, you immediately fall in love. And that, I don't know, that's hard to find too, is games that grab you that quick.
I kind of like how it looks. I'm looking at it now. Like,
I hated it. I don't even know why. I thought it looked cheap. It looked like some weird Flash game or something. It doesn't.
Right.
When I saw it in action, like, actually, like, I think it's just like YouTube compression.
Is it only on Switch, or is it somewhere else?
No, so again, it hit Game Pass, so it's PC,
Game Pass, okay.
Xbox. I think it's just not on PlayStation. I think it's everything but PlayStation.
Gotcha. Yeah, I might have to play that.
And then Death's Door, and that just came out, and that's all the rage right now. I don't know if y'all have been seeing people talking about this.
I have, yeah. I didn't know what
it's a lot like the game you were describing, Elder Lily. It's not like side scrolling, it's like top down isometric view. And
right.
It plays, It's got that little Dark Soulsy thing. You're killing enemies, you're getting their souls, but when you die, like in Elder Lilies, you don't actually lose them. So you can like keep going after the fact. You get a different penalty. I can't even remember what it is. But you don't like ever lose your souls. What makes the game so good is just the pacing and how fun it is and how well it's made. When you were describing Elder Lilies, you could just apply everything to that game to this game. Of just like, this is the new Elder Lilies.
I saw the way it looked. I get what you're saying. Like, Elder Lilies is a side scroller versus this seems like like you said, like the isometric kind of like top down view. You're going diagonal up and down, left and right. I saw
every other aspect is pretty much identical to the game. The boss design's amazing. The characters, it's all just super well done. It just feels like, if you were to look from it from the outside, it's like an indie game. But then when you start playing it, you're like, man, this was a studio made by like 300 people. This feels like AAA game, but just in an indie style is kind of like the vibe of it. But then I found out after the fact, apparently only 2 people made it. And then they had like outside help with some of the assets or whatever, but they were barely around. And it was just 2 main dudes. And I was just like, that's literally impossible. I don't even get it, because when you play it, you'll realize what I'm saying. It just plays too good. The animations, like the difficulty, just how much like it throws at you and how interesting it is. It feels a lot like Zelda. That's a way better, because that's going to feel Metroidvania, and where this is going to be top down and feels like Zelda. That's like the best way I could word it. Like you, I'm not playing. It's so hard for me to watch anything, because every moment I have time, I want to play all the stuff that I have to play. I barely watch any movies, any TV shows. I'm always just like trying my best to just avoid them, because if I start getting into a show and let's say I super love it and I'm watching it, then there goes like weeks of me not playing a game, and then I feel like I'm wasting time when I watch stuff.
That's exactly what I was saying before. Same thing.
So we're going to go ahead and get into the main topic of the show, and I wanted to dive into Rudy's teaching, and if you can give us some background on what you even teach, just give us a rundown and we can ask further from there.
Of course. So I've been a teacher now I'm going into my 4th year. I teach, I'm mainly a math teacher now. When I first started, I did everything, like, math, ELA, science, social studies. And as soon as I started, I wanted to be, the way it's set up, I know it wasn't like this when we were all in school. When we were in school, you had one teacher mainly, right? And they taught you, at least for me, it was like that. They taught you everything. You stayed with them all day. Now it's kind of become like more compartmentalized, like Tim will be the math teacher and Dryan's the ELA teacher, and they switch throughout the day. That's kind of how most schools do it now. It's kind of like a middle school approach, but now they go all the way to the beginning. Like my daughter had this going on, which is kind of blows my mind.
That is really weird.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a New York thing or if this is everywhere, but it's become.
So what do you do?
So this year that just passed was my first year being just math and science. So, for example, I had a partner, and she taught, English and social studies. And so the way we would do it, now remember, this was like a COVID year, so it's different. But normally the way we would do it is I'd get my homeroom, quote unquote, in the morning, right? 20 something students. That's my homeroom. Okay, we do a math lesson, some other things, maybe some group work, right? And then maybe after 2.5 hours or so, then at this time, then we switch, right? I send my kids over to her. She sends me her kids. This is my switch class now, And really, the titles of homeroom and switch don't really matter, because you spend equal amount of time with both classes. So really, they're both your classes, I guess you could say. But yeah, you switch. Then I do again what I just did with the other class, except usually they give you, they call it target. Here's the target class, meaning they're like where they should be for the most part. Then they say, here's the transitional class. That's like the kids who are lower. So yeah, you got to modify things a little bit, because these kids are obviously going to have a harder time, right? This was the first year where I had that whole thing in effect. I'm teaching math, she's teaching ELA, which is great because you could focus more on your
Okay,
subject
hold on. Sorry, what's that other one? You said math and what?
Oh, sorry. I'm so.
I don't know what that is.
So ELA is English Language Arts. It's just just what they call it. But
they don't have ELA in Florida?
No, I've never heard of it. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't been at school in 20 years. So.
It's just you work a certain job and you have certain terms and stuff. You have to forget. Everyone doesn't know these terms, right? I'm sure in Florida, obviously, they're teaching this, but everyone might not know that title. So please, whenever I say something that makes no sense, just stop me.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, my partner was an English teacher. That was her specialty. So the kids would only do math and science with me. They'd only do social studies and English with her. So you'd have some kids who absolutely hate learning English, reading and writing. So when they came to me, they'd be like, yes, I can't wait to do math. I can't stand it. And then you had the opposite. Kids who just can't stand math. It's too hard for them. They don't get it. And they'd rather be with my partner. So that's how it was this year. But the last few years before that, it was everything. Like you were responsible for teaching all subjects, but you had no switch class. It was just you. You didn't have to work with anyone, and you didn't have double the amount of students. Does that make sense? You'd have 20 students instead of 40 with your partner, So I did that for a few years, and I liked it, but I really did want to just be focused more on one subject, because I feel like, just like with anything, you focus more on one thing, you're obviously gonna be stronger in that, right? Instead of trying to split your resources, like I did the last few years. So
All right, so I'm gonna cut you here. The reason I was wanting to do like fifth grade is because I was wanting to do all subjects because I thought that'd be cool, and
Sure.
I thought that's how it worked. But I really don't know if the schools here are doing the same thing there. But yeah, I was going in thinking I can teach them all subjects and get all around, and I was kind of hoping for that. But you're saying one subject. It's hard to know. I don't know if I would like that or not until I try, I guess.
I was in school from K to 12 up until 2011. I graduated in 2011.
Right.
So from, I would say, K to 6th grade, everything was in one classroom, one teacher taught everything.
Yeah.
Up until 7th grade and up, that was different classes.
Yeah, so same here.
Yep, same with me.
I heard they took away the Regents exams or something like that.
Oh man, that's a whole God that we could talk about this stuff forever. But before we address that, I'll say this. Remember when I got hired, I was teaching all subjects. There's always those positions. In my building, they call that like a singleton, like you're just doing everything, And some people look at that and they say, "Oh my God, I feel bad for you. I'd never want to have to prep for all subjects." But other people look at it and they say, "Well, I like that I can work alone and I don't have to work with someone else. And I have my one class that I can get really cool with, and you build a good relationship with it." Like I will say, my first few years when I did that by myself, I almost felt like we were more of a, this is our class.
Yeah, that was the goal, is I wanted to be as tight as possible. I wanted the kids to be as close to me as I could get it to.
And you can still do that for sure. It's just, it just depends how you go about it. Now, if you're always...
How do you like it now?
Oh, man, I love it.
I mean, you like the current better?
I love it so much better, man, because the only thing that was going to hold me back was exactly what you just said. I was worried that we wouldn't be maybe as close or as much of like a tight community, but as long as you treat both classes like you don't prioritize one over the other, then you're fine. And it worked out well for me. And now I could never see myself going back. That being said, trust me, there's plenty of positions where they do it that way still, because I see it all the time, even in our school, So I don't think you have to worry about that.
The partner system is to build up morale between teachers and create a more coexisting working environment for teachers.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. Because I will say there were many times, well, put aside that you're a new teacher, despite any other job I've ever had, this is the one where the first year was the most difficult for me ever. I've had jobs that I thought were super tough, but this was the one that was the toughest first year, I'll say. Now, a few years in, do I think it's the toughest job I've ever had? No. But first year, you're like drowning. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're going to be having a rough time. It's going to be tough. You're going to have people talking you off the ledge a lot. There were many times where I was like, I can't do this. I got to quit. I can't take this.
Now, what I'm scared of the most is the money. They don't pay well.
Yeah, that's why I was telling you guys. I think I mentioned to you guys the other day that, we had considered, like, do we eventually want to move? But now that I've been in here and I see how well, the other thing is, if you work in like a Title I school, in like a city environment, usually you're gonna be paid more. But on top of that, New York in general, I just feel that they pay quite a bit more than a lot of the other states. Like in Florida, I don't know for sure. I have a friend who lives in Florida.
It depends where in Florida,
Right.
So South Florida, I'm going to get paid more, but at the same side, everything's more expensive, and it kind of comes out to the same regardless if I'm North Florida or South Florida. But basically, I was looking at the average in my area, and it's pretty bad. It's like 30 to 45,000.
Yeah, that's
and I'm like, I can't do that. I mean,
Yeah,
I literally made more than that, like with my current jobs. I was like, but if I go South Florida, it's a lot higher than that, but living's also way higher. So
how long would you be open to like a commute? Because that's what I do every day. I do an hour commute, and it's rough, but it helps.
I mean, if it's worth it, of course I'm gonna do it. Like, I don't care if driving. Like, okay, calculate the gas, and I'm still making more money. I'm gonna.
Oh yeah.
Well, so one of the thing about teacher salary that a lot of people don't take into account is that you guys get the summers, right? So that is also factored into your salary.
Yes, we got to talk about that for sure.
Yeah, so basically, like what I'm saying is like for teachers, it's a special case because they get 3 months off, right, and then continue on to the next year in their profession.
But off or actually
Hold on,
off?
I'll tell you all about that.
Free time to take other work.
Let's say 1 month is my guess.
All right,
but anyway.
I'll tell you the honest answer, and trust me, I will be completely transparent with you guys. There's some things that people think are super tough that I don't find so tough at all. There's other
Okay.
things that people say are no big deal, and it's really not that. So let's address the summer thing first, because not even.
Okay.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No. Like, so okay. So the topic is the salary, and then like the 3 months off, and so like the main argument that I hear from more conservative folk is that teachers like still get their, like, let's say starting salary, first year teacher, $50K or whatever, right?
Right.
And then but they only work 9 months out of 12, right? Because they summer off. And so if you did that like at a regular job, like factor it in, so technically teachers would be making more if they were working those 3 months.
Right, if they did the entire. Okay, so so let me start with in terms of time, like, do I have an extra amount of time to, if I wanted to, continue working and make more money on top of my other salary? That's absolutely true. Yes, definitely. But I will say this, you know, number one, the summers, I'm going into my 4th year. I feel pretty confident at this point, That being said, I've already started working for next year, And of course, obviously I'm not being paid for it, but you want to make your job easier for yourself, right? So you're going to start doing what you need to. So I'm taking time every day and prepping. Now, here's the other thing is there is so much time, and I know this is not just teaching. A lot of people have jobs like this, just to clarify, but if I could count the number of hours and time and phone calls and things that I've done throughout the year that were outside of my work hours, man, I probably would have worked the whole year by then, if I was to tally it all up. And I'm talking about, and this is where it comes down to, do you have a teacher who's just getting the paycheck and then just dashing out, or are they, are they really in it for the right reasons? Like, from what I can tell from Tim talking about, I feel like Tim will probably be a good teacher. Seems like he's actually wanting to do it right. And that's how I feel too. Like, I really love this job, man. And when I first started, of course I didn't know what I was doing. Now that I kind of know what I'm doing, man, I'll take time. I'll video chat with kids when they don't get something for hours, or drive out to the kid's house to bring them their laptop, like things like that aren't, a lot of people
what I'm
don't
wanting to do. That's what I'm expecting to do. Yes.
I guess there's been a lot of occurrences of that, but then you have to also factor in my work day starts at 8:40, right? But many days I'll probably be arriving an hour plus early, to prep for the day. I can't remember the last time I had a sit down, eat my food, lunch, and then relax. That never happens.
Look, let's put it this way. So the job I had for the last 5 years, I was running the tech side in the store. And so, yeah, if I just did my job and left, I would have so much extra work to constantly keep up with that I'd be drowning and eventually wouldn't be able to sustain myself or the job or the place, and they would just shut the place down. There's so much. So I get there's so much extra work. I'm staying till 8, 9 o'clock at night when I could have left at 6 or 7. But I don't want to leave at 6 or 7 because the very next day I'm going to have that much more work that I have to keep up with. So
makes sense.
I'm imagining it's that same sense of yeah, sure, these hours, if I were to do that and nothing more, but I physically wouldn't be able to do that. It requires the extra work. It's part of it.
Right. So somebody with poor time management skills would have a harder time being a teacher.
Oh, 1,000%. Yes, dude. But the thing is, in this job, I've learned that you can take someone who is super organized and you can take someone else who is super disorganized. And what if they're still there 3 months later after the beginning of the school year? They're going to learn how to properly take care of the job. Trust me, because you put it this way: if you had someone who does what, and I'm not talking about you, Ryan, but I'm talking about some of these super extreme people, the way they talk about teachers. If you did do what they think you do, could you get away with doing way less work? Sure. But that would only last a little while before it would catch up to you. When your scores are low and nothing's organized and your principal's like, okay, you got to get out of here. A lot of people want to be teachers, so there's plenty of people waiting to replace you, But yeah, I really truly believe that the majority of teachers really don't have that attitude. Like I feel bad myself sometimes when I'm cutting quarters and stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm just like, it's June, it's almost end of the year. I'm like, oh my god, I can't anymore. Like I'm gonna put on an episode of Mythbusters today because I, teach them something today. But this is like the last week of school I'm talking about, and even then I kind of feel like, oh man, am I slacking? But the thing I learned is that these kids are not going to remember I mean, you hope they remember how to do the things you taught them, sure. But what I mean is the most important things they're going to remember from my class 10 years from now is not did they learn fractions or writing or reading. They're going to remember me and the experiences we had together. I mean, I had kids and, remember that I work in like a rougher area. So I had kids who we would sit down and chat at lunchtime, and they'd tell me about all their problems and what can they do, and they're breaking down, and you're sitting there and you're trying to make them feel better. They're emailing you, they're calling you, like everything. So that's the kind of things that I really like about it. I've become really close with these kids. I want to know what they're. I know some teachers, when the kids leave, they're like, I don't want to hear from that kid ever again. I'm like the complete opposite. I have no problem with these. These kids will sometimes they'll be trying to email me, and I'll be like, all right, let me text you this picture quick, whatever, and I'll just text them the homework from my phone because the email's not working. And I'm like, I don't care, whatever. It's not gonna bother me if one day this kid had an emergency and he remembers my phone number's in there and they call me. That wouldn't bother me. I know a lot of people are not like that,
Right.
but that kind of makes the difference for me.
I mean, I guess there's a fun. Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's really important for teachers to have personalities and just to
Sure.
go the extra mile, like teachers like you, and
Sure.
especially math teachers of all subjects, because I cannot tell you how many math teachers I personally went through, right, in like grade school and high school and stuff, where
Is this the Asian bias?
literally,
that sucks.
All right. Keep going. I just sorry. I just had to make the joke.
No, but like it's kind of true, right? So like the math, like not to sound like on the racist end or anything like that. It's just like all the math teachers that I've had were just like like immigrant teachers, and like they were like had harder and thicker accents.
Right.
I went to a city school, so like as you teach in like a public school, right? So like it's kind of like it's hard to find good math teachers, I would say,
Totally.
in those situations. And it's just math is already hard enough as it is. Trying to like learn it. Imagine learning it from somebody with a language barrier and then doesn't know how to properly explain things, and you're both just frustrated.
Right. Especially, I mean, how many, even in fifth grade, these kids are learning the fundamentals, right? I wouldn't go so far to say they're learning like the extreme fundamentals because they learned that before, but they're getting fifth grade is pretty much where you're taking everything you've learned, we're really solidifying it, maybe throwing in a few things before you send you off to middle school. Everything that we're teaching in fifth grade, you do really use in your life a lot, like multiplication and division and fractions. Like a lot of people forget this, including myself. Before I became a teacher, I couldn't remember how to do half this stuff, So I'll have to sit down and read up sometimes. That's another thing. You'll be like, okay, I got to teach these kids how to divide fractions tomorrow. Okay, I don't know how to do it. Let me sit down and read this fifth grade book. And it's not just let me learn how to do a problem or two. It's like, I need to learn how to do this and then show them, and not show them that I like make it seem like I'm sure of myself. Because sometimes I'm up there and I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, and sometimes they'll catch you, and other times they won't. But it's better to just be real, Sometimes be like, oh, you guys got me, yeah, good catch. So like pump them up for it, you know what I mean?
They're like, I meant to do that.
Yeah,
yeah, like that episode of How I Met Your Mother, where I don't know if you guys watch it, but like
I've seen it.
Ted, he writes on a chalkboard, writes professor, and forgets if there's two F's or one F in the word professor. Looks at like crowd of students, and one of the students just like says like no, and then like he just erases the one F, and she's like nodding yes.
Dude, that is exactly how it is sometimes, especially my first year. But if there's anything I've learned is this job is I could be a teacher for 15 years and I'm still going to have times where I feel unsure of myself, making mistakes. It happens, you can't be perfect. There was one time recently where maybe it took like 2 years to get to this realization. But one time a kid pointed out, I think he pointed out something about my spelling or my handwriting, something. My handwriting was terrible when I first started, by the way. It's gotten a little better, but it was pretty bad. Anyway, he pointed out something about my spelling, just kind of similar to that. oh, Mr. Regalado, you spelled that wrong. And at first in my head, I wanted to kind of give like a smart remark back, but then I was like, you know what? The kid is just doing what I taught him to do, right? Looking carefully. He notices the mistakes pointed out. So then I kind of started taking a different, oh, good call, Tim. That was good. I'm glad you pointed that out. I'll do it better for next time. And then once I started doing that and stopped taking things personally from these kids who are 10 and 11 years old, it just makes a world of difference.
That's the thing about kids that not a lot of people realize, even like parents, is that from a young age, like you should talk to them like they're adults.
Yeah.
Not like exposing them to like the gross stuff of adulthood, but just the same level of communication that you would have to another adult, like the same level of respect. Kids tend to respond better to that rather than criticism all the time, and builds confidence pretty much.
Oh yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
I've always treated these kids the way I would treat any other kid that age, my own kids. I feel that they respect you way more when you're not always babying them or always coming down on them. I try to play. It's a tight rope to walk, especially being the male teacher. And Tim, like you'll definitely experience this too. When you come in, you're the male teacher, you're a younger guy, in your 30s, let's say. A lot of the teachers they're dealing with are, first of all, older, second of all, women, and third of all, most are white ladies. I mean, let's be honest, that's the majority of teachers, in most schools you see. So you got me, I come in, this brown guy, tattoos, got the beard, a bald head, young guy. And I feel like immediately I'm already on, like, I got a head start, compared to a lot of these other teachers immediately. And then once we start talking, I know the games they're talking about. I know the TV. I know their culture. Then, I mean, you're already like 60% up at that point, So it just makes things way easier. If you want to come in, you want to get on their level and don't, turn your nose up at the things they think are cool, you're already ahead of the game, Too many people do that. They act like the things the kids like are silly or dumb. They don't take the time to.
Don't a lot of teachers want to be that way though? Don't they want to be in this mindset of like, not me, but
right.
I'm not supposed to be their friend. I'm supposed to be on them and make sure, like almost like a parent like being overly strict on their kids or something. But yeah, I am trying to go at the angle of I want to get on the level. I want to talk to them. I want to get them to actually understand and learn about like serious life lessons. That's the angle I'm going at.
Dude, I think that's exactly right. That's how you should approach it. And the same way you do with your kids and I do with my kids, I try my best to not just be my kid's friend, obviously. When it comes time to discipline your kids and teach them life lessons, I try to do that. So it's a little tough to find your balance. There's definitely been plenty of times this past year where me and my partner look at each other, we're like, yeah, these kids are spoiled. We let them get too far, right? But then other times where we're on the same page and we kind of come down harder on them. But you never go into it with one thing in mind. It's kind of just you just play it by ear, and you do, you act accordingly. So
like Rudy just said, like it has to be like a fine balance between the two. You can't be their best friend where like they call you for every little problem, but you also shouldn't be like a prison warden to them.
You want to feel approachable. You want to you want these kids to feel that they can talk to you about their problems, their issues, whatever it is. Because imagine trying to learn anything as an adult when you're worried about your mom or your dad. You're worried about a place to live. You're worried about, do you have money for things this month? I mean, all that stuff going on, and you have to learn fractions. Like, it's tough, So yeah, as long as you keep that in mind, man, you'll do fine, I'm sure.
So why I was trying to target 5th grade was also I'm trying to catch basically right before puberty, and because I'm sitting there thinking, imagine if you had all these problems that you're bringing up, like your home life is a wreck, you don't really have any friends, you're maybe bullied a lot, all these things, and you got to sit there and learn fractions. You can't wrap your brain around it. You need somebody to actually like really be there for you and teach you slowly and really take personal time with you and all of that stuff. So if you can do all of that and get them in a good headspace before the puberty starts, because the very moment it does hit, now there's 1,000 other bricks on their life, and now they're really in a bad spot,
To me, I don't want to teach any other grade. I know I don't have the experience to this extent with the other grades yet. And it's not to say that if I was a 2nd or 3rd grade teacher, I would hate it. I'm sure I would like it because I've tutored kids in that age range and I know how they are. Really fun, cute kids. It's great. But I just I like that the content is somewhat more in depth, first of all. You're actually, it's not let's write this sentence. It's a little more involved, which I kind of like. But then also, they're at that age where you're really, really making an impact on them, probably for the rest of their life to some extent. A lot of these kids that I left this year, I'd say I probably, I think a lot of those kids will remember me, especially with the way this year was and how tough it was. So
How old is fifth grade? I forget.
yeah, I feel like everyone, including myself, until I got this job, forgets
12,
the ages and
11.
it's 10, 11. That's
10,
normal.
11, yeah.
Yeah, that's normal, barring any sort of people get held back or whatever. But yeah, I think personally, I love that age, and it's great. The only thing that's rough, it's like a bittersweet thing, is that every year that you have a new group, you don't see them again. They're gone. They leave to middle school. I know a lot of teachers there teach third grade or something, and they'll see their kids. Oh, hey, how's it going? Nice to see you. How you doing this year? I don't get that, which kind of bums me out. So that's the only rough part.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
My third grade teacher, Ms. Montgomery at Cherry Road Elementary School, yeah, that's what it was. She actually liked us so much that the following year we had her again. She went from third
Wow.
grader to a fourth grade teacher. She got us again. Basically.
That's awesome. You guys and her probably love that. I mean, I know I would if I could have the same group again, especially and we haven't even talked about the way that this year was with COVID and everything. I feel that this year started off and it felt like my first year again. I felt completely lost. And remember, I'm someone like you guys who is pretty well versed with technology, right? Like I know what I'm doing. I know how to use all this stuff. And I know how I felt. So I can only imagine these teachers who don't know how to send an attachment in an email doing this. This year they started that way. But yeah, we've come a long way with that. It started off I remember we were prepping up to the first day of school and we're trying, test video chats with each other from across classrooms. It's crashing. It's not working right. It's lagging. We're like, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster tomorrow. And sure enough, the first day is out of 20 kids, you have maybe 10 kids or something who are there. They didn't, we tried to send the invite beforehand to the Google Classroom. That's something I don't know if you guys are familiar with Google Classroom, but it's basically like, think of, you can have like a feed, you can post assignments. All the kids are labeled in there, all their grades, everything. It kind of organizes everything, and you can do meetings in there too. So we sent all the invites out beforehand. Now, a lot of the kids, I'm assuming with their parents, they go in, they see the invite. Oh, let's make sure, are the parents thinking about what their kid needs to do before day one? I know I usually am, obviously. So they go in, they accept the invite. Now they're part of the Google Classroom, right? But I know a lot of them probably not. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they don't know what's going on. Whatever. For whatever reason, on the first day, definitely not everyone's there. And things were really rough for a good, let's say, month or two. I'm talking about every day. It was so strange. I would drive to school. I would get in my car at 7 o'clock, maybe like 6:45 in the morning. I'd drive down there, right? I'd walk in my class, say hi to people. You're wearing your mask and everything, okay? And then I'd walk into my classroom that's empty, nothing and that's the other thing. When you're a teacher, one of the favorite things to do is set up your classroom. You want a theme, you want to set up things here on the walls, everywhere, however you want. None of that this year, okay? So I walk into this empty, very boring classroom. I take off my mask, I sit down, I open my laptop, and I'm getting stuff ready. Like in this room by myself. It was so weird. Because usually it's like I come in, I'm playing music, I'm like giving the kids high fives as they walk in, as opposed to this year was, okay, see you guys at lunchtime.
How would you even decide the music? Like, what do you even play that fifth graders could listen to and no one get upset?
I was so back and forth on this over the years, man. Like at first, I would maybe play something low that I was listening to already. I think one time I was like listening to Rise Against or something because I really like, they're one of my favorite bands, and I was listening to them, and the kids started walking in, and immediately I went to turn it off, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just turn it down, like background music, and then these kids catch everything. What are you listening to? What is that? Oh my God. This doesn't sound. Turn that off. You should play an insert name of some new rapper or something, whatever. I'm like, all right. And then after that, they got me. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So then next time, I think I put on I went to Pandora. I put something, today's hits or something like that. And then of course these kids, you get a few kids bobbing their head as they walk in. Then you get, oh, this is radio music. This is trash. Well, this is so bad. Well, no one's ever happy. And then eventually got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play what I want, and these kids are gonna deal with it. So I think the last time I started doing it, I found this playlist it was similar to radio hits, but I think it had like a little more variety. And I'd get a kid here and there, be like, "Can we play this?" I'm like, "Nope, this is what we're listening to." And then by the end of the year, these kids are walking in, jamming to the music. They like it now. So you just got to keep it on. You can't bend to their will every time like that. 'Cause that was my mistake. It was so strange coming in and you're saying hi to your or bye to your coworkers or whatever, and then you don't see them till lunchtime. So that was really strange. Go ahead, Tim.
So my mom had 10 of us,
Right.
and I'm an uncle to like over 30 kids at this point. So all growing up, I had to deal with kids and babies and all that mess. So I really feel, and then I got my own kid myself. And even when it came to having my own kid, I can discipline no problem.
Sure.
Now, there's no way I'm going into a classroom and whooping these butts, right? Of like 10-year-olds, but not going that far. But I feel I can definitely handle the discipline and still having fun live, like easily. I've done it all my life. I'm not really worried about that. I'm trying to wonder what legit struggles you have with these kids.
Sure. So I feel pretty similar to you when it comes to my own kids, right? The discipline. I feel that number one, I don't feel that any of these kids will scare me off. I know that sometimes happen. So I felt good about that going into it, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm pretty good with discipline with my own kids. Yeah, sure. Do I let them get away with stuff sometimes? Sure, but for the most part, I think they're very well-adjusted, respectable kids who do what they're supposed to do because of us, because of their parents, right? So I felt great about that too. Now, the thing is, when when you get in front of these kids, it's like a different ball game, man. I was so unprepared for it. I didn't expect. Imagine this. Imagine every time. You know how right now, as we're doing this podcast, sometimes we'll talk over each other, and it's obviously no one's doing it on purpose, and so we're trying to get better at it, right? Imagine a kid doing that to you, but they do it all day long. I'm talking about every time you try to speak, they just also want to talk. I have this book that I love. It's called My Mouth is a Volcano, okay? And the whole point of the book is there's this little boy, I forgot his name. I think it was like Johnny or something. Anyway, he describes with a lot of detail, he paints a picture for these kids how he feels when he feels he wants to say something in class. And he's like, "Oh, I feel it rumbling and it's gonna erupt and whatever." And then, the story goes on, and the kid is always getting reprimanded for doing this in class. The teacher's like, "Your words are not more important than others, whatever." And then finally one kid does it to him. He's like, "That was so rude. Why would they do that to me? I was gonna speak. I was gonna speak. What what's the problem?" And then it continues, and you learn the moral. You gotta. And I read that book at the beginning of every year and multiple times throughout because kids don't understand that they have to either raise their hand.
I mean, I kind of want to save that. That's
Yeah,
so
you want to
mouth
put
is a
that?
volcano.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's an awesome book. Like I said, no lie. First day of school, I do it every single time, and I have to pull it out for select students, let's say, throughout the year. That's a big struggle. And then the other thing is, again, with your own kids, when do you want to actually carry out a consequence? And when do you want to threaten it? And when do you want to
Yeah.
let things go? Those three things are tough to find a good balance.
Choosing your battles, just like a
Oh
relationship
yeah,
in general.
100%. There's been so many times where I remember one time I was, let's say the kid's name is Billy. Billy, you better stop. I'm calling your mom right now. Like sometimes, you'll stop the whole class and you'll address one kid to try to get it across, obviously, right? If you don't stop this right now, Billy, I'm calling your mom right now. And then Billy keeps going. Okay, that's it. I'm stopping. And then the whole class is looking at you. All their eyes are on you. And they look shocked. Oh my God, he's gonna call Billy's mom. And I'm walking over to the phone and I'm like, shoot, I'm not really planning on calling Billy's mom. So I hope by the time, whoops, I hope by the time, yeah, and I don't have the number on me or anything. I'm just kind of,
Yeah.
and most times things like that, no problem. But then one time a kid like called my bluff. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say, I was like, does a kid call your bluff?
Oh yeah, it's happened. And the one the one time they did, then you try to backtrack like, I'm gonna give you one more chance, Billy. But for the most part, if they see that, when people do act up, even if sometimes one time or two times you maybe react a little stronger than you should, but it helps to set the tone, then so be it. You have to do it because if you don't get your management down early on, you're going to be struggling so badly, man, for the whole year.
What are different disciplinary things you can do? Because you have to think about
Sure.
all of these different kids from all these different backgrounds, and parents may be getting upset over this, and this. So you have to really find a thin line there. So, what are some examples on something that you could really discipline a kid without taking it too far, but them actually taking you seriously? You know?
Sure. So, I've tried all kinds of things, man. I'm still learning. And by the way, all the progress I made with learning what is the appropriate punishment, things like that, it kind of all this past year has completely washed it all away. Like, because I didn't have to do that this year at all. So now I feel like I'm starting new again. But one thing I was doing that I felt personally was working pretty well, and this is kind of like back to Ryan's point from earlier about, the amount of time you work. I'm constantly making things at home that I can use in the classroom. I'll see something, I'll be like, oh my God, that would be great for Melissa, or that would be great for this girl or this boy, So I'm at home with cardstock paper and a laminator and scissors and markers, and I'm trying to make some new thing that might help me in the class, right? So I did this one thing. It was called the, I'll have to find a picture of it if I can. It was called the behavior chart or something, or I think it was like your behavior temperature or something like that. And it showed like a little thermometer, right? And the thermometer started at the bottom, and obviously it goes up and it changes colors. It's like, blue at the bottom, then green. I think it was like yellow, orange, red, something like that. So there's like 5 levels, okay? And what I then tried to do is I tried to think, what is an appropriate consequence for each of these levels? And I also printed out I laminated these. By the way, a laminator, Tim, you need to get a laminator ASAP, by the way, when you get a job, because they are just amazing. They're just amazing. You'll use them so much. But anyway, I got the color. I got construction paper that coordinated with the chart, right? So I got each color. I cut out these little squares. I laminated them. I had like 10 squares of each color. Okay. I have them all in this basket up at the front. And what I would do is this.
I love how elaborate this is.
Oh, yeah. The craziest thing about all of this is you might do all of this and try it and come home and be like, nope,
And it doesn't even work.
That didn't work. Or you might come up with something on the drive in and try it, and it might work wonders. That's the crazy thing about this job. It's so funny. But anyway, so I have my whole basket, red, green, yellow, whatever. And I take one of each and I keep them in my pocket. Sort of like you're in a soccer game and they give the cards out, right? So that's how I would do it. I walk by Ryan's desk and he's talking. He's talking to his buddy while I'm talking, maybe without stopping. So I'm talking about whatever, and I'll pull out the card and just drop it on his desk and keep moving, And I first introduced this to him. I explained it. Then I just put it into practice. And again, I'm trying to maybe give these out a little looser at first to show like, oh, you don't want to get these. I want to kind of paint that picture.
What's one of the punishments, though?
The first one, I believe it was I think the first one was honestly just a warning. Okay. And then if they got a second card, the next color, I want to say that was like lunch detention or something. They'd come in during lunch. They'd have to do work and just, they can't hang out with their friends at recess.
Okay.
I think the next one after that, was that one a phone call or was the next one? The order might be a little jumbled. I think that was a phone call. And I think the next one was a meeting with their parent. And the last one was like a referral. Like think ISS or something like that. Go ahead, Ryan.
Does the lunch detention ruin your time too?
It sure does. That's the other thing. Even if you're trying to give consequences to these kids, you're just screwing yourself. But honestly, for me, and again, I know a lot of teachers talk like this, but honestly, for me, it doesn't bother me to have the kids come. I bring them when they're not in trouble. I'll bring 5 or 6 kids who want to come hang out with me during lunch. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. If I'm busy doing something, I'll let them just chill in the room and talk with their friends. If I'm not busy, then I'll hang with them too, So for me, it's not really a big deal. I know a lot of teachers don't feel that way, and they're just like, nope, I don't want to see these kids during lunch at all.
What's an activity that kids do during lunch? So like whenever we were going, let's say playing with Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff like that. Is there anything, not 2020, but let's say 2019, what were these kids doing during lunch? Was there anything new or hip that they were all doing?
In the few years, I feel like it changes so drastically every year. This past year, even with COVID, the number one big thing was, you guys know those Pop-It things? Have you seen them? You know what I'm talking about or no?
No.
Okay.
It's just plastic figures, right?
Yeah, I told my daughter to bring me one. I'm gonna show you in a second. But
you're talking about the pop figures?
Yeah, like you push the little things in, right? They make little noise. No, not Funko Pop.
Not pop figures.
I know exactly what you're talking about. My kid has one.
Okay, so this is what. Thanks, buddy. This is one. This is not a poppet, but this is another. They call them fidgets, right? They're all
Yeah,
about
so I
the
know
same thing.
that.
It's just like a little, you little pop them in. But there's other ones, and that's
But there's one that
man.
has like
Go.
30 little holes that you can pop and all of that. Pop
Right.
down and pop up.
Here we go. Look, like this. This is my
Yes,
daughter's one that
yes.
she brings
Okay.
everywhere.
So my son has one and he
Right, go.
messes with it all the time.
So those things have become huge this year.
They'll challenge each other on who could do it the fastest, like all the way through.
Upgraded bubble wrap.
I mean, yeah. That they can use over and over and over. And this got to the point where not only were they playing with them, but it turned into during the first 15 minutes of the day when they're just eating breakfast, they're all opening their bags. They're pulling out 5, 6, 7 different fidgets. Oh, what do you have? Oh, you want to do fidget trading today? Like, this is a huge thing. These kids are all about this. They're trading. They're comparing. All kinds of things. Like Tim said, they're trying to do it. Who can do it faster? This is like all the rage now, man. That's the biggest thing I've seen.
Wow, I feel
in the last.
old.
I
feel so old.
They'll bring them to me. Actually, it was really sweet. One of my students this year, she let me try this. It's a sort of same idea. It's like a little ball. The ball has little circular colors all around it in like specific spots, and you push the ball in, and then it goes to another empty hole. And the idea is to try to put the colors in the right spot. And it's really kind of just like I find myself using it during class sometimes as I'm talking. Like it's just like a stress-free thing, And she got me one at the end of the year. I was like, oh, that was nice of her. So it's all the rage now, man. So
the fidget thing that we had when I was in elementary school, was like those finger skateboards.
Yeah,
and like we would just do kick flips after kick flips.
So cool.
Teachers hated them though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. See that? I guess that's what I'm talking about. Am I really? If the kids using the pop it during class, does it bother me? Well, it's case by case, Is it a kid who maybe has trouble focusing and so they're doing that and they're being quiet and they're paying attention? Then fine. But is it, hey, Tim, pass me this one while I'll give you this one? Well, that's kind of annoying. That's a little different. So, it depends. But I'm trying to think if there's any other things.
Do they still do the paper footballs?
I haven't seen those in a long time, actually. Now that you bring it up, I remember those.
Really?
But no, I haven't seen those in forever.
What about like the paper wasps?
Not even.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no like paper spitballs on the ceiling?
No, but as you know that every boy in the entire universe does this. Every kid always does that. They're walking down the hallway, they see the ceiling, they come up, slap it. Every kid does that, obviously.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else.
So it's built
I'm glad that's still there.
Yeah. What was that, Ryan? Say it again.
I said so it's built into the human genome.
They can't walk by it without slapping it. A lot of kids have cell phones now, so they're all about.
Oh god.
Oh, can we make a TikTok? Whatever. But you know what? A lot of these kids get a kick out of when you just make a fool of yourself. Like they'll be at lunchtime, they want to make a TikTok. They're like, Mr. Aguilar, you should do it with us. And I'll come over there. I'll just try to be funny. Like, just be ridiculous, Oh, I know how to do this better than you guys. And do some silly thing. You look so dumb and they crack up and then you move on, So stuff like that helps. But yeah, I'd say the fidget things are, man, they go crazy. They actually got to the point where they banned those in my school towards the end of the year. They're like, no poppets allowed. And I'm sure kids are going to try to get around that. Oh, they said no poppets. So I can bring my whatever name, So. Do
y'all remember those pods? Those little circle pods.
Oh yeah. And the slammers, right? The little metal ones. Yeah. I remember those.
The only thing that was illegal in my elementary school was Yu-Gi-Oh cards because we started using them as currency. We literally started using Yu-Gi-Oh cards as currency and basically
buy people's lunches.
The stars on the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, like the higher the number, the higher the value, and that's how we did it. We got them when Yu-Gi-Oh cards first came out. When I was in 4th grade, that's when like the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh was out, and everybody's all about like Blue Eyes White Dragon guys and like Dragon Champions, stuff like that. So those were like the first booster packs. The game itself hasn't established at all yet, and nobody knew how to play, so it was just literally trading cards, and it just turned into a form of currency in my elementary school.
That's awesome.
So this year coming up, how are you prepping for it? What are you doing? Are you actually in the school again?
Yeah, so the thing you'll find out quickly is that every year this job is different. You'll learn, insert, let's just say curriculum A or something, okay? You'll get really good at it. You'll find a lot of resources that you find helpful. for this particular setup, and then they'll switch everything on you next year. So, that kind of happened somewhat this year. So right now I've been talking with a few other teachers, like, hey, what do you think about if we approach this particular topic, this way? The good thing about being a teacher is you have a lot of freedom with the way you teach things. I know in New York City it's different, and maybe some other cities they have a very strict, hey, follow this from A to Z. But for us, it's kind of like, I'll go Google what's a good way to teach fractions, and then you'll kind of get down the rabbit hole and do whatever. So right now we're just trying to find, where do we want to start? Maybe we switch the order of this up. Maybe we use these resources. So on the content end, that's what we're doing. Now, when it comes to, are we going to be there? What's the mass thing look like?
Yeah.
How many kids are going to be in class? All that stuff. Man, it's so up in the air. It's like, we'll know. If I had to bet, we'll probably know the first day of school is September 1st. I would guess by August 20 something, I'll probably have a better idea, honestly.
Y'all start September 1st? Wow. We start like August, I want to say 7th. So like literally next week, my kid's starting.
Oh, wow. So maybe it's way earlier. I didn't realize that. So do you
Yeah.
guys end earlier too?
We end of May, early June.
Okay. That makes sense because my last day this year was June 25th or 6th or something like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That, like, Florida ends way.
I think because of summer. Summer is a way bigger thing here than it would be somewhere else.
I had no idea they do it that early.
They're worried about heat, basically, because it gets so hot here, and then the kids going to recess. Imagine the kids going to recess, and it's 100 degrees outside. Like, it can't fly.
Well, yeah, because the longer school years is to make up for the snow days that we get in.
We don't even get snow days. Snow is not a thing here. So, yeah.
Well, actually, so are schools doing away with snow days with the virtual learning and stuff?
Okay, so that's a good question. This past year, it's been, because remember that. Oh, Dryden, I'm going to answer that one second, but before I forget, I want to touch on something else related to this.
Okay.
This past year, I would see some things on Facebook, because we all know Facebook can be either the greatest thing in the world or the most toxic thing in the world. Obviously,
Twitter just stays toxic.
Twitter's just constant toxicity. You're right.
Yeah, it really is.
I saw someone propose something, and I was trying my best to look at it with a level head, no bias, just like take myself out of it. Like, is this reasonable? And I came to the conclusion, no, it's just complete BS. The guy was like, well, if our kids are not learning in person and they're not able to learn as much, and the teachers are teaching online, then why don't we cut their salary some so that we can, provide money for other things that need it? I'm like, I wrote the comment out about 5 times and I kept deleting it. I'm like, no, Rudy, don't, it's not worth it. Don't do it. But I had to eventually say something. I'm like, dude, do you realize that we're doing double the work for half the results? Like, does that make sense to you? Because I don't know if you think that working online for a teacher is easier, but it most certainly is not. I'd say 70% of teaching is the in-person interaction, right? If I'm at the front of the class and I have no presence and no personality and no authority, these kids are not going to care what I'm saying. They don't want to learn from me. Now, if you have all that down and they respect you and they want to listen to what you have to say, well, then you'll take a kid who has been doing terribly for years, and it'll turn around, So,
so I have a bone to pick with this one. It's
sure.
It's sort of relating and not relating at the same time. So
Sure.
I'm just gonna say it.
Go for it.
There should be a reckoning of like teachers who don't do their jobs, or like, I mean, Rudy, you're an example of a teacher that goes above and beyond. But
Sure.
I mean, you're just one teacher as opposed to all the other teachers that teach within our state of New York and just the whole entire country.
Yep.
So like, that being said, like, what about the teachers who do the bare minimum, who like literally just throw on a TV or like a movie on a TV, like those types of teachers? Should they be moved out, or like our teacher unions like just grandfathering them in and stuff like that?
It would work itself out. If a teacher was that bad and was not teaching correctly, there is no way all the other teachers going to see that take place. The faculty is going to see it all take place and not do anything about it. I mean, I can't see a teacher just throwing up constant things. The kids are getting poor grades left and right. When a bunch of students start getting bad grades, they go immediately to the teacher and try to figure out what the teacher's doing wrong. They don't sit there and go to each student and try to figure out why they're making it. They're instantly blaming the teacher first. Well, you have a bunch of students acting up. Now, if it was one or two, sure, but if a teacher's bad, the grades would show. and they would immediately be taking action on the teacher. They wouldn't be taking action on the kids,
Be able to
right?
jump in real quick. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
first of all, I will say that if there was some way that I could verifiably prove this teacher is literally doing nothing, do I think they deserve to be there? No. I think there's many other people who would completely love to be there and put in the work. Now, that being said, yes, I think the teachers that maybe are doing nothing shouldn't be there. Of course. But on that same topic, are people as tough on other jobs where they're maybe skating by? Maybe in some cases, maybe not. But we'll come back to that in a second. Now, to Tim's point that he was saying before, do I think that if a teacher is severely slacking, maybe doing the bare minimum, is it going to come back to that? Yeah, definitely. And that's something that we all worry about because you might be trying your absolute best, and the way they score you every year, especially in New York, we have something called APPR. I'm trying to remember the exact abbreviation for that. Something proficiency something report. But basically it's annual proficiency something report. I got 3 of them. Okay, fine. Anyway, so what they do is they score you like out of a whole 100%, they score you first. I think it's about 60% of that is based on 2 observations that you get every year, right? So your first one might be sometime in the fall when you're first getting to know your kids. They want to come in, they want to see the content you're teaching, how is your rapport with the kids, things like that, right? And then they'll come unannounced the second time, maybe springtime or so. They'll pop in randomly, and you better hope that obviously you're on your game when they pop in because everyone has bad days, but you try your best, fine. You do another one. Those 2 observations together make up the 60%, cumulatively, right?
So what is it? A guy walking in and watching you throughout the day in
So
your
it's
classroom?
it's it's a principal usually, whether it's your main principal or assistant principal. So they'll come in, they'll take a seat in your class somewhere. They'll have a laptop or a clipboard, something. And I try my best. I've learned to just not even look their way. I act like they don't even exist. I just keep doing what I'm doing. But they sit there and then you hear them typing and maybe they're typing a little more furiously. They're like, oh man, did I, did I do something wrong? Like, but anyway, I don't address them at all ever. And they'll sit there for maybe about 45 minutes. The first observation that it will be a sort of we'll have a discussion beforehand. Okay, what are you teaching, Rudy? What is the topic? How long is it going to be? What are some things you want me to see? It'll be planned out. The second one, however, they just pop in on you, and you're like you see them walk in the second time, you're like, oh man, either you're like, oh man, I'm so glad they walked in today because I have an awesome lesson today, or you're like, oh my god, today was a day that I was not prepared for this. So you do what you can, obviously. Anyway, those 2 observations happen every year. Right? It's a point of a lot of stress and contention for teachers every year, but it is what it is. You got to be evaluated somehow. Fine. Anyway, those 2 together make up, I want to say about 60% of your total rating every year, right? Now, the last 40%, which this is a part a lot of people have a problem with, the last 40% is based on students' growth from the beginning of the year on their MAPS test. That's the big test that I told you about, versus the
Is
end of the
that
year.
is that a state test?
It's not when I think of state tests for New York, there's like an official New York State test, right? This is a
Okay.
state this is a test that's given in the state, but it's not the state test. So I guess if
Okay.
that makes any sense. But
Yeah.
it is something that is widespread in New York, right? So the test might consist of, typical things you'd see in 5th grade, although sometimes they kind of go above it. And even the students will say, I don't understand this. We didn't learn this. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It sucks, but what are you going to do? Okay. They take the test. Let's say, let's say you took the test in the beginning of the year. Remember, this is after a summer, right? So you're kind of out
Right.
of sorts, right? You take the test, you start off. Now, for math, the way we score things is on a 1 to 4 scale, right? So think a 1 would probably be like 190 and below. That's a really low score. And you slowly go up. A 4 would be something like I want to say like 220 and above at the beginning of the year. Okay. So I'll have kids come in after the summer, they'll take it. Most kids will do okay, not that great. Maybe you have 1 or 2 kids who get like a 4, something crazy, 223 or something. But most of the kids, let's say low 200s usually, they'll get like a 2, okay? Fine. Now, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. You're going to test these kids, you want to see where they're at after the summer. Fine. The problem is this is when you get to the end of the year, you've taught everything you're going to teach around May. they administer this test again. And now this test learns from the students. If they do really, really well the first time, well, guess what? It's going to get harder. If they do really poorly, then it's going to get easier. It kind of just, it goes according. Anyway, so imagine that you had a kid who scored 225 beginning of the year. He's really proud of himself, right? Then he comes at the end of the year and he gets 226. Still, he got an awesome score 2 times, right? But he didn't show growth. So it doesn't look good for me or for him that he only went up 1 point. Meanwhile, you have another kid who maybe got a 190, did terrible in the beginning, and he went up to 200. Still not a great score, but did he go up 10 points? Yes, he did. So now this
I
looks
can
good.
pick holes all through this.
Oh my God, there's
I'm imagining like all the problems.
yeah, the test is not meant to be.
Do you see the test like when you give it to them? Because all you would have to do is be like, oh, now I know what this test entails, and as long as I hit these points throughout my year, I know
Right.
they'll be good.
So the test is administered on a computer every year. So, I can see bits and parts of it, but nothing that I can be like, "Oh, I know the exact test." Never like that. But
You
I
can't
don't know.
save it in any way, or
Right. No, nothing
yeah.
like that. Now, I don't know if maybe well, I hope at least this is the reason. Maybe I've been doing a good job at what I'm supposed to do. Usually I have pretty good luck. The kids do pretty well most times, but I can see why people would have an issue with it, Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah.
So I can see like this sort of like I never had anything like this in New York.
Mhm.
It's something new.
Right.
But see how this sort of testing system would literally be a confidence killer in a lot of kids and just produce testing anxiety.
Sure. Sure. I can totally see that. And I feel for the kids when that does happen because it does, A lot of the kids are fine, but a lot of the kids, even me just talking about it and saying, hey, we're doing, you guys have maps next week. We're going to spend all week reviewing and getting you ready. And I try my best to make them feel fine about it. I'm like, listen, you do your best. That's all you can do. Right. And it works most times. But there's a lot of kids who get a lot of anxiety. They get there that day, they break down, they don't do well, and they're really bright kids, but they don't do well because it was too much. It's too much for them to handle.
Yeah, I was good at tests all during school, actually, like exceptionally good, and then I never did my homework and it bounced like that. But
Yep.
I'm thinking of all the kids who would freak out when the test was coming up, and I knew
Right.
they knew the info, but when it came to taking the tests, they're failing. Next thing you know, they're getting held back because of a state test on something. They're clearly bright and know the material, but they just happen to freak out and do bad on the test.
I was that kid in school that really didn't have to try until like maybe 11th grade because that's when like grades started to matter. Like I was above 95, 100 kid throughout school, and like all the way until like I would say 11th grade. Of course, like AP classes and like higher end math classes, calculus and stuff like that. That I actually had to buckle down and learn things.
I know it's not the school and I know it's the state as a whole, but couldn't you talk to like a principal or something, be like, hey, what do y'all think about this? Because here's our issues involving around it. Are they agreeing with you and just being like, yeah, but we got to do it?
Yeah. So honestly, a lot of times, and I will say, if you work in a place where you have a supportive principal, man, it makes all the difference. Like I would, if I had to drive a 2-hour commute every day, and that meant that I could have someone who supported me, actually, I would still do it because, or versus 5 minutes to a principal who doesn't, and
Okay.
luckily I have the former. And basically, the way it is with the principal is like this. If you look at it reasonably, and you understand they're doing what they can to make your life easier and to be reasonable with you. But of course, they have to answer to someone above, and so do they. And then New York State. I think we can all agree, every teacher in the whole state, I bet you would agree, that the state is not really doing things the way they should most times. You
Okay.
have these people who are politicians telling us how these kids should be learning when it's like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah,
these
but they're
kids.
clearly not in the classroom every day, and they
Right,
clearly don't
right.
know how it works.
I think that's why I get so fired up. And not even like, okay, so let me give you an example. When Dryan was talking about the stuff with the teachers, I have no problem talking to people about that. Like, hey, what do you think what about this teacher who's slacking here? I think that's good to talk to people about that, right? What fires me up though is when people talk so matter of factly about what's going on in class, how things should be. Public schools are all away. So I'm like, listen, if you look at most professions and most jobs, right? if you work in, I don't know, IT, let's just say, just something random. If you work in IT and there's like a big problem that people have been complaining about for a long time about your field, let's just say, like people do about public schools a lot, obviously, right? I think most times a lot of companies will be like, screw you, we're not changing things. This is the way we do things, and that's that. Now, you look at schools. Are public schools perfect? Of course not. So many problems, a lot of things to fix. But I will say they are always changing. They're always trying new things. They never stay stagnant ever. I mean, and whenever they do change things, people are, "Oh my God, I didn't learn math this way. What kind of BS is this? This is so dumb." And I'm like, "Well, listen, man. Actually, this one method, I've seen results. Oh, I don't care about your result. This is not the right way to do it. Oh, okay. Sorry. What do I know?" Go
So
ahead, try it.
going off of that, I have two things to say. First
Sure.
thing with the public school thing is I've actually had a few friends who switched out of private schools and went to public school because the public school that I went to offered a free ride to, as long as you graduate, offered a free ride to any SUNY school within the state.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of families who couldn't afford that, but still like sent their kids to private schools through whatever program, saw that as an opportunity to send their kids to college who otherwise they couldn't afford. That there is a use for public schools in
Sure.
that sense.
But that thing you said about the public schools is interesting because
Yeah.
I know in New York State, the SUNY schools now, meeting certain conditions, you can go for free, right?
My grade did it in 2011 was like if you were in these advanced classes and you scored high and stuff and you just graduated on time, you were just given this free ride. The Say Yes program, that's what it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I know. I don't want to say I know, but I think another requirement that I saw was you have to live in the New York State for a certain amount of time after,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
then
Okay.
like after you graduated, you had to like be in New York State for a few years or something like that.
I've been telling my daughter already. She's only 7. I already tell her. I'm like, listen, when you get to the age where you can go to college, okay? I know it's a big topic these days about, they kind of everyone makes you think college is the only way to go, and I agree that they really do that. Now, did I have
Yeah.
a good college experience? I really did. Do I think everyone needs to go to college? No, of course not. But I told my daughter, you're going to do something. You're not just going to be working at the local store doing nothing. Either you're going to college, a trade school, something, some sort of meaningful profession. But I also told her I don't want her to be like me and be $70,000 in debt. It
Yeah.
sucks. And I'm
Where did you go
fine.
to school?
So I went to school in a little school called SUNY Morrisville. It's like real tiny town. It was,
Dude, Morrisville.
Morrisville, yeah.
I
No,
know.
no, no. I meant college.
Oh well, no, that's what I'm saying. That's
Oh,
where I did
okay.
college, and then it was, first of all, a whole. We'll have to talk about it another time, but it was like a
I've
culture
been to
shock.
some of those party houses. Those are fucking gross.
It's craziness. It was so, like, I don't want to get too off topic, but I'll just say it real quick.
But
It was interesting because SUNY Morrisville is a very, farm-like kind of
yeah,
area. You
it's
won't
literally
see a
just cornfields.
you won't see a black person for like miles, right?
Okay.
It's
But
very red there. Yeah.
a large population from where I live in New York City go there. So you end up having like a huge split. You have a lot of black and like Hispanic kids, and then you have a lot of country boys. And it was kind of like really interesting when we got there. These people would meet, and they've really not experienced this ever, and it was pretty cool actually. But anyway, I did 4 years there, right? And then later on, I went to SUNY New Paltz, which is pretty close to me here, and that's where I did my graduate school. So I
Did you have teacher the whole time in mind?
no, I didn't. Nope. I did 4 years, and I actually wanted to get into law enforcement. Like I had this
Okay.
this dream. I wanted to be like an agent, like an FBI agent, all this stuff. And yeah, maybe I could have done it, maybe I couldn't have. But over the years, I had kids.
You look like an FBI agent.
Yeah, pull out a badge. But
You know what's funny? I went in freshman year into college, study as a criminology major.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
And wanting to do FBI stuff, like the forensic stuff. But then, like, what happened was they put me in advanced calc, and I was like, "There's no way I'm understanding this." And
Bro, calculus
again,
is so crazy. That is
Crazy stuff,
easily the most intense math class I've ever had in my life.
yes, and again, the teacher was some like adjunct Indian lady that I couldn't understand what she was saying, and I was my confidence level was so low. I was too scared to like go to her like after classes and ask for help. So I just dropped that class and just switched over to communications major, and here I am now. Just because communications, you only had to do like stats for math class.
Yeah,
All right.
well, I was gonna say last thing to wrap this part up. I was trying to get at that. I was telling my daughter I don't want her. Now the debt doesn't affect me negatively day to day. It's a college loan debt. It's different. I don't have debt for anything else. No credit cards. No nothing. Everything else is fine.
I'm in
It's
the
just
same
that.
boat, by the way.
Right,
I'm
right.
40,000 in.
Yeah, and I'm still. I know so many people will be so mad about it, but I really don't care. If somehow this gets taken away from me, I will celebrate forever.
Please.
I will be. I don't care how many people get upset with me and tell me this and that. What you could say whatever you want to me at that point. I'm 70,000 pounds lighter, so no
No,
problem. Okay.
I've been begging anytime I see anything posted
Any
about
headline.
like, oh, they're going. Basically, a lot of people on the right are super. No, you borrow the money, you need to pay it back, and I'm like,
Well,
please, I get it, I understand
I
all
get
of
it. I
it.
get it.
It makes
So-
sense. I just
so-
don't care. It's just such
Right.
a burden and crazy debt that I don't know when and how I'm ever going to pay this off. I'm begging every day it somehow disappears. Yes.
After Dryan talks, I just remind me because I
Yeah.
have something for you on that.
So
Go ahead,
I just remembered when you were saying about your daughter. I have this major gripe about how the college system is pushed within our culture and within the educational system. And I think certain schools get kickbacks for how many students like they send to college. 18, you are not ready to put on like a financial burden of $70,000 or even $50,000.
No way. Yeah.
They're preying on the young and stupid. They really
Yeah,
are.
and that's the thing too. It's like at 18, like you're automatically pushed to like go to college. And I mean, I don't know how it is now because I'm 28, but at 18, back in 2011, if you didn't go to college in my city, which was Syracuse, you were
Oh yeah.
Basically, if you have good parents who care about you and know about all the stuff, whether they care about you or not, let's just say know how it all works. Hey, you may be good, but if your parents don't know how it all works, you're going to get so roped in so fast. Right. And it doesn't even rely on you because you're too young to know any better. You're just thinking you're doing the right thing based on what everyone's telling you to do.
Yep.
But you have to be the parent, and I have to be the parent to tell my kid, like, hey, no, you can't get wrapped in. You really have to have a set mind and know what you're going to do well beforehand. Anyway.
And my experience was a little bit different, I would say, compared to everybody else because I'm would it be like first generation immigrant or like second generation when you're born here?
Like your parents were born somewhere else, you were born here.
Yeah. And because of that, like with their like language barrier and like not understanding like just these like documents of like things where you apply for college and stuff like that. I applied to college on my own. Like I figured out the financial stuff. Like nobody helped me. I mean, I got bare minimum advice from the guidance counselors. Like that's pretty much how it is in public schools, in most public schools. And through that, I mean, you're thrown to the wolves basically, coming from an immigrant family as like a American-born immigrant person who's going through the college system because like nobody's there to tell you the advice of like what Rudy was saying. It's like, hey, maybe college isn't the right path for you. Maybe you should go to a trade school and stuff like that. You're just automatically assume that your parents worked so hard these many years to build up their funds to invest in their kids to go to college because college is the right path to the American dream that they came over for. At least that's what was like drilled into my head. And like,
same here. Outside the immigrant stuff, but the rest applied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we probably have all been there, and I even told my daughter that, listen, we're right now between myself, your mom, my parents, your godparents, right, things like that. We're putting money in this account for you, right? This is your personal account, and I know most people do this. They save the money, then when they get to college, they say, okay, we saved $15,000 for you. What is that, like 2 semesters? Oh, let's blow it all in these 2 semesters. I'm like, you're not doing that. I'm sorry, that's not what we're doing. I think a bank account with $15,000 in it that you take from here and there and you put in here and there is way more useful than blowing it on 2 semesters of college, right? So I told her, do you have a few options? Number one, and she's a very bright kid. Either you'll get a full ride because you're that smart. Number two, you can work as you go. I'll try to help you. We'll pay semester by semester. And I don't know what option 3 is, but it's definitely not going to be you getting in this much debt because I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't handle. Like my wife is in school right now, and when she actually now that Brian was talking about that before, and I think about the conversation we had with these people at her school, it blows my mind how much they were trying to push the financial aid and everything on her.
Yep,
Like I
exactly.
called them, I told them, okay, I said how much
My
is going to
wife's in the
be.
same boat.
Yeah, yeah. I said how much is it going to be for the 15-month program for, like cosmetology, right? And all that stuff. Okay. They said, okay, it's going to be roughly about $17,000. All right. I did some calculations. I'm like, all right. It's about like well, and there's a down payment, four grand up front. Okay. So after we calculated everything, if we're going to pull this off, we have to pay about close to $800 a month. I'm like, okay, if we really buckle down, we can do this. 15 months, 15 pay, we can do this. They're like, okay, so are you going to do financial aid? I'm like, no, we're going to pay as we go. They're like, all right, they transfer us. Okay, so we have the financial aid stuff pulled up. I'm like, no, we're not doing financial aid, man. Please stop. We're not doing that. And we've been paying it, and I'm so glad we did. I don't want her to be in $20,000 debt too.
Yeah.
All that being said, though, and I think we should probably touch on this another time when we have more time. The whole college loan thing, man. Here's how I feel about it. If I end up having to pay this whole thing at some point when I'm freaking gray, okay?
Same.
If Tim and I are 60 years old and we finally pay off our loans, okay? And then Dryan's kid is 18 years old at that point, and they're going to school for free, it's not going to bother me. I know a lot of people don't feel that way. But me personally, if things get easier for the people after me, I really, honestly, I really couldn't care less. I know a lot of people do not feel that way. They say, if I did it, you got to do it. Okay, fine.
Them not getting upset because someone's in a bad situation and them paying out money to help people in bad situations. That's what I want. I want people to care for others in bad situations. I don't want someone in a bad situation being like, oh, well, I'm in a better situation. You should get to the situation I'm at. I worked harder than you. Shame on you. And the problem is there's way too many variables of life. They could have tried just as hard as you did, but they just didn't make it as well as you did. There's no way of knowing. Even if they didn't try as hard, who cares? You'll help them if they're in need.
It's just a part of life at this point. That's how I say it. It's just part of life. Everyone, you're gonna have your people who are cheaters and they're trying to get by, and then you're gonna have honest people who are trying their best and they just can't make it. And I can't sit here and.
But how can I play
out.
God and figure out who did better and who did worse on how they live their life? I can't go that far. No one can. So we're all guessing. So why are we even trying?
So I had my student loan set to be paid off this year. I did the math, and it would be paid off at the end, like 2021 December, right?
Okay, so are you getting mad if me and Rudy get forgive in 6 months and you work this hard to pay it off? Are you getting mad or not?
I feel like we need to celebrate. Someone in our midst is going to finish their freaking college loans.
Well, no. Okay, first of all, I came out with only $30,000 just because I did undergrad. But here's the kicker, though. I specifically cut it off at $10K. So if Biden forgives the student loans at the $10K mark, I'm golden.
Okay.
He already said he isn't. Did you see that?
Dude,
I was so sad.
God.
Didn't.
I'm not going to be political on here at all, okay? I'll just say this. I'll say this little bit. I don't care if people know this little part, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to be very vague as possible. I don't want to delve more into this. I'll say this. Right. I wasn't a fan of Donald Trump. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden, but I went with Joe Biden for a few reasons, okay? Fine. Now, this person, I'll try to be nice here, said a lot of stuff about college loans, how important it is.
I'm so upset.
We need to do the right thing, okay? Okay, I understand politicians say things, and they might promise you, let's say 100% of something, and you might get 50% or even 30% of it, right? But this guy is acting like he said
lied.
none of this.
Lied.
He's acting like he had nothing. When did I ever say anything about college loans?
It's the Alzheimer's setting in, dude. It's the Alzheimer's.
It was such a huge thing he never shut up about. Now he wants to pretend like he never said anything.
It was gigantic. It was such a big part of his platform. My God. But anyway,
I was secretly crossing my fingers, being like, look, even if it's like, just do one thing.
I'm hoping now. The last thing I'm hoping for is okay. You're not going to forgive our loans. Okay, fine. Can you at least make it so that if I have to pay...
My credit is screwed. Is your credit screwed?
No, it's okay right now because in the times that I'm supposed to pay, I pay, even if it's a minimum thing. But I'm gonna.
Okay, me too, but it wasn't in the past. Now it's good.
Okay,
but
okay.
Now I'm playing catch up. But anyway.
It'll turn around. You'll be good. But anyway, so I'm hoping, can he maybe make it so the choices of how you pay back are a little more reasonable, right? Don't just do, hey, 10% of your income every month or whatever it is, right? So give us more options. If you're not going to forgive it, at least sit down with some people. You have a lot of resources. Sit down and come up with something that's fair for people, okay? You're making, I don't know, 70 grand a year. Don't kill me. Don't kill me with $800 payments every month. All right, give me a break, man. Make me pay longer. I don't care. Just give me something that I don't have to think about. I can just pay it. It doesn't make me have to skip out on eating certain things for the month.
They're not paying us enough for the jobs we're doing
to
pay the fees that they want us to pay. That's
now,
just the reality.
Here's the last thing I'll say though. There is a glimmer of hope. Okay, now the glimmer is starting to get a little covered up, but I'm hoping it still exists. All right, so there is a program called the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but it is a program that is in place, and it's for teachers, police, a lot of state positions like that, government positions, right? So the way it goes is like this. It can't be private loans. It's got to be federal loans. That's first. So I'm good there, right? Secondly, you have to change all your loans to direct loans, whatever the hell that means. Okay, I did that. Fine. Then next thing you have to do is you have to sign up for an income-driven repayment plan. So based on your income, right? Like it sounds. And lastly, you have to verify your status as being employed by one of these places every year. You fill it out, you give it to the people there, they send it in, then they update your total payments. Now, here's the interesting part. You have to pay 120 payments in order to get forgiveness on the rest. And there's no kickers. There's no, hey, we'll forgive what's left, but then you have to pay tax on it. Nope, it's not that. It's exempt from that. Everything's good. Okay. The problem is, once you start making a good amount more money, then the payments start going up. So then you start thinking, is it worth it for me to pay 120 payment? Then what? I've paid 40,000 of it, but then hey, you're still going to get 30,000 forgiven. But can you sustain it for that long? So right now, I've been in this program for a few years now. My loans are a little split up because I had college and then I had grad school. So I'd say half of my loans are, let's say, like 50 payments in. Like there's some hope there, right? Yeah, I'm a little less than halfway, but then some others are only like 20 in. So it'll take a while. But anyway, this program exists right now, and I'm hoping that this will actually happen. The number of people who have been forgiven through this program, though, is so small. It's like, I got to look up the exact numbers, but it's like tens of thousands out of a whole country of people. I mean, how many people have student loans? It's ridiculous. So that's the program I'm in now. So Tim, if you do get the job and you get there, you let me know. I can help you figure out how to do it. But here's the last part that sucks. The servicer, it's called the servicer I have is called Fed Loan Servicing. They're one of the biggest leeches, I'll call them, because that's how I feel about them. that do this sort of thing with student loans, right? They are ending their contract with the Department of Education later this year. So here's the problem. I have all these payments in limbo, right? Because right now there's a stop on loan payments. I'm not sure if you guys know, but now for the last year,
I'm well aware myself.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. So it's been like a year and a half of no payments, but even though there's been a stop, they still count towards your total payments, which is awesome. So every month I've been getting 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, right? Which is great. Okay. Fine. But the thing is, they're going to end their contract with these people in December, and the payments are supposed to start again in October. So what I'm foreseeing is a huge disaster coming later this year. They're going to lose a lot of people's records of how much they've paid. They have to move it over to a new provider. This is going to be a complete disaster. And I'm kind of worried about it.
People have gotten used to the non-payments. And they've adjusted their life accordingly. Now a new payment starts rolling in. They can't pay this. They can't pay that. And everyone's going to be freaking out again.
It's going to be a mess. I think that they should delay it. Really not even because of the COVID situation, but because they're switching providers and you need to kind of let people sort that all out. And then let us start resuming again, So we'll see. I really hope. Can Biden at least do that, please?
It's all lies. I mean, we should know. We lived long enough to realize it's every single time they lie. So, but I want to also say that I always feel really weird because I'm in that boat of like I hate both, and I'm sure y'all may as well. But so I'm voting third party, and I have been the last 2 times. even though a lot of people say I'm just throwing my vote away, and I may be, but at least it's somebody I like. And I'm hoping that as it builds up, because every time more and more people have been voting third party and it is on an up incline, at least I feel like I'm working towards something. You know,
as long as you feel good about it, that's what matters. I really don't like when people say that. Like, who are you to tell me who I should be voting for? I mean, come on, give me a break. You can't tell me you're wasting your vote. Why don't you vote Democrat? Why don't you vote Republican? Like, no, screw you. I'll vote who I want to vote for, or I'll just stay. Most people are just gonna stay home if they don't vote for who they want to vote for, right? So I never answered the snow day thing, by the way. I just remembered. So let me at least answer that. Snow days for school. First of all, if it's not obvious by now, oh man, I feel bad. Tim's not gonna be able to enjoy the joy of waking up and getting that email and just knowing, oh yes, it's a snow. It's such a great
so
deal.
We have the same thing. It's just not snow. So what we get is hurricanes. So we'll get. Oh, there's a big thunderstorm coming in. We can't go to school. So it's the same thing. Our house may blow. The roof may fly off of our house.
But hey, at least we'll be home. At least we'll be home when it happens. Yeah. No, we're usually allotted like. It varies by district, but most districts 4, 5, 6 days, somewhere in that range. I think ours is usually 5. So, and it makes sense in New York, obviously. But this past year, I was worried that well, the thing with teaching, and I'm sure with a lot of other jobs, is once the place of your employment sees that you're willing to do these things that are maybe outside of your normal responsibilities, or maybe you're doing things differently just to accommodate.
How would they see that?
Well, what I mean when I say that is, for example, when we were out for COVID, like we had a period of time where we were home, right? And they said if you got COVID, actually, sorry, let me back up. When we were going in and teaching remotely online, but we were going into the building still, they said if you got COVID at one point, or someone that you knew got COVID and you had to quarantine, you are not expected to live teach to the kids while you're experiencing that, right? You're just expected to maybe post some work. Like think of like when you would be out for a day and you'd have you'd post work for the kids.
Because they can't judge how bad somebody may be sick, and what if you're in a terrible condition where you actually couldn't even get on the camera and talk.
That's exactly it, right? So when my wife got sick at one point with COVID back in maybe October or something, and that was my expectation. Okay, I'd get on every morning, I'd post like a morning announcement, I'd post, okay, do this math, do this science, read this, have a good day, whatever, whatever it was. Okay, fine. So a lot of people would think, hey, if we start doing things that are not expected of us, even if you're just trying to do the right thing and be there for your kids, that might become a norm. You know what I mean? It might become normal that when you're out for COVID, you need to live teach unless you can prove that it's so bad that you can't. You know what I mean? So they would always kind of be wary of things like that. So that being said, we started getting these snow days, and they were like fully fledged snow days. No school today, even though we were home. We were like, oh my God, this is amazing. But my daughter's school, on the other hand, they started doing, they would just call them remote days. And it would just be just like teaching from home, completely normal all day. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I guess it varies, but we still had our snow days, which I was very happy to see because, man, nothing like some good old snow days. So, but I did teach from home this year for a good month and a half when the cases were really rising a lot in New York, well, at least in my area. They let us stay home from, I want to say it was maybe beginning of November until right after the New Year, something like that. And I loved it. I was still doing my job, but it was great. I was in such a great mood. I'd roll out of bed, I'd grab some coffee, put on a shirt. Hey kids, how's it going? Good morning. And I felt great, man. And on my breaks, I'd go lay in bed and watch TV or play video games.
I'm just imagining you having no pants, just a shirt. They don't even know.
Right, like Rudy, you have like an hour commute normally to work. That's
right. That's the other huge thing. My God, what a difference, right? Imagine instead of my 2 hours that I'm normally driving, it's like I can get up an hour later. I can get, I'd normally pick the kids up, and I doubt my mom would ever listen to this, but she'd kill me if she knew this. But sometimes I'd finish the school, they'd be like, "Oh, sorry, mom, I'm still driving home. I got an hour left." So yeah, man, that's how the snow.
I'm gonna tell your mom to listen.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so snow days still exist, thankfully.
So what I'm curious on snow is, what about like, okay, you have a bad blizzard or something and you're out for days or a week or 2 weeks. How do they handle more severe situations?
We would have, And Brian, I want to hear from you after this because I know in the city it's so dense that it's maybe a little different. But for us, if it got really really bad, I remember last year, maybe in like I want to say in around November, somewhere around December, maybe there was a real bad snowstorm. It was so bad that they canceled school the night before, and that would happen sometimes. It would be like 6 o'clock at night. Okay, no school tomorrow. Okay, fine. And then you'd wake up the next day, and they're just working all morning. All the trucks cleared it all out. As long as the major highways were good, then we'd be good to go the following day. But there was one time where it was 2 days where it was that bad. It just snowfall after snowfall. But it's never been like anything crazy. A week, 2 weeks, nothing like that. At least
Okay, because
not in my
we
experience.
get weeks, 2 week situations. Because
Wow.
again, the hurricane, like if things are actually wiped out or a lot of damage to a building, they can't have kids in a building and just leaking all over the place or a wall taken out, stuff like that.
Right. Ryan, how about you? How is it in the city with snow? I know it's tough to clean up when it's so dense like that.
The one major upside about living in New York City is that when a huge snowstorm comes by, it doesn't stay. Like literally, the mayor sends out some sort of like snow warning and stuff, and then we have these salt trucks like ready to go before the snow even like touches the ground.
Gotcha.
So at my office, usually I would say during rush hour time, you would see snow trucks coming into Manhattan and just littering the streets with salt. And it's because it's Manhattan, because we're so tightly compacted together that like if any like large snowstorm would leave multiple cars stranded and stuff like that, the situation's significantly different down here. And most of the times like isn't really any snow days down here because most of the travel is done by subways,
Right. That makes sense.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. Have like Ryan ask a question or two, me the same, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you guys come up with after, honestly, I have no problem answering.
Yeah.
And Tim, especially for you, because I know you're trying to get into the field.
Yeah.
Obviously.
What is your craziest moment as a teacher?
Oh God.
Was there in the high school, one of the student teachers broke up a fight between these two black girls, and she pulled out a knife and stabbed him, and he had to go to the hospital.
Jesus Christ! Wow.
No, Rudy, you ever been stabbed by a fifth grader?
never been stabbed yet. I will say, a lot of the kids that I deal with, I think that they are pretty tough kids. A lot of them could probably intimidate a lot of teachers for sure. I'm not not trying to sound like some cool guy here or anything, but they just don't intimidate me. It's not something that I would ever worry about. Now I have had kids. Very rarely and these are kids that I still like and I still respect. They're just, they're going through something. I've had kids maybe once or twice. They're having an issue. They're very upset about something. And in the moment, they're cursing at you. They're yelling at you. That's happened once or twice. Nothing too crazy, though. No sort of physical violence or anything like that. But again, when the kid is acting that way and I am kind of right in front of them, and I'm sort of trying to diffuse the situation, you tower over these kids, you're kind of like a little more intimidating than them, then it kind of quickly diffuses. But I've seen some other teachers, like little petite teachers, some kids are backing them down and like, oh my God, must be scary for that that teacher there. I couldn't imagine being in that situation. So
have you seen the opposite where like the teacher easily handles a kid like being completely crazy and it's a super tiny lady and she like controls the situation no problem?
It's so funny because all those things I mentioned that I felt gave me a sort of like a head start, and now obviously I've learned. I feel that now, without all that stuff, I feel like now I can handle it now that I've learned. But there's some teachers who are like veteran teachers that are these little, 50-year-old little lady or something, and Marcus, you're gonna stop doing that right now. And yes, ma'am. It's really funny to see sometimes, because they tower over them. They don't care. They're just like I said, if they respect the teacher, man, that's all it really comes down to,
Okay, so another question I have is, what was like one of the most heartwarming moments that you've had as a teacher?
Sure. So you have your typical things like parents reaching out to you and giving you like these really kind, nice messages. That always is great, obviously. Besides that, okay, one time I had a girl. I have a few examples. I don't know which one's the best. I'll just give you like 2 or 3 examples. One time I had a girl who she came up to me one day and she asked me like, well, what are some of my favorite No, they don't like video games. What are some of my favorite video game characters? I'm like, I don't know. I've always liked Mario. Like this was like the first game I ever played, or Zelda, or whatever, things like that. And so you could tell this kid worked for a long time on this. Like she gave it to me like 2 weeks later. This whole portrait of Mario, and then she drew me too with Mario, and we're like jumping up and hitting a block. I'm like this kid.
That's
I can't believe
awesome.
this kid spent this much time on something for me. You know, they've my desk is all decorated with pictures these kids have come up with. This one girl was really talented. She was like a really talented writer. One time she wrote me a poem. They've left me letters. Real nice stuff. I'd say probably one of the ones that stands out to me the most though is this girl I had. She she told me that she didn't really have she said that her dad left her when she was a kid, right? And it's just been her and her mom. Things have been really tough. And she told me that she sees me like another dad because I would always talk to her about her problems, and that without me talking to her, she doesn't think she'd be able to get through the year. And so like stuff like that is like it really goes a long way. And I feel great about that. That this kid confided in me, and they feel they're leaving with a really positive experience. That's I mean, can you ask for anything else really? Probably the best thing you could get for a kid leaving instead of the opposite, which is I hate it. When we talk about teachers now, oh my
Yeah.
god, I hated my fourth grade teacher.
Yes,
That's
yes.
like I really hope that never ever happens to me. I don't think it will, but man, I really hope not.
I
So
thought of a question. So,
sure.
have you ever had a situation? I mean, this is kind of negative, but have you ever had like a really bad kid coming in and making poor grades or trying everything they can, and they actually are trying, but
Sure.
at the end of the year, they still like showed no progress, and if not, was even worse or just as bad, or you just felt like, man, I really did try everything I could, and I feel really bad that this
Yeah.
kid is still just leaving my class. Let's say they barely passed, and you're
Sure.
like, you just know in the back of your head they're just not ready.
Yeah. Oh,
How do you
that's
deal with
definitely
situations like that? Like,
it's definitely happened, man. And I will say, I'm still early on in this career, and I hope this doesn't change. I'm going to try my best to not let it change. But I've had kids like that who I've tried till the last day of school. Try to find some way to get them to care about doing it. And some, maybe let's say out of 10 times that this has happened, a good 6 or 7 times, the kids will turn it around. They'll start trying, even if it's in May out of a whole year. They try for that
yeah.
last month. That's progress to me, right? But yes, of course, I've had a few. You try everything. You talk to their parents. You talk to
What
them
if the
one on
kid's
one.
trying and just doesn't make any progress? Do you ever see that?
I
Like, what
have
if the
seen that.
kid's genuinely trying but still can't get
Right.
it?
I have seen that too, and I don't feel nearly as bad about that because if the kid's trying, most times things will click once maybe they get put into the right program, maybe a class that's less students, or sometimes kids have different programs for their schooling in which they can have special arrangements, to help them. And a lot of these
Yeah.
things eventually they do click and they do help. You just got to find the right setup. But I've had girls who I had a girl one time who finished the year, and she was the sweetest kid. Always tried her hardest. You could tell she really was working hard, but she just struggled. She just had a hard time, and she wouldn't score the highest marks ever. He waved back to you. She wouldn't score the highest marks, but she always tried. I'd call on her, and a big thing you can do with kids like this is like scaffold, right? Like they try to answer. What do you think the answer to this is, Tim? And maybe I see you struggling, and then you give a little bit. You give half of the answer, and you pull them in. And once they see, oh, I got the right answer,
Gotcha.
like
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that will really help. So I don't feel nearly as bad excuse me, I don't feel nearly as bad with kids like that because
Yeah.
I
If they feel
know,
they were actually trying. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. But the other ones, man, it bums me out because I'm like, is this like what else can I do? Is it me? Is it them? Like, is there anything I can
Yeah.
do? But I don't know, man. Some kids just school's not for them, I guess. I mean,
I mean, I'm sure you do, but what about the kids that make like have amazing grades, do super well, but are also crazy, like say like class clowns or
right,
like
right.
lash out a bunch and are just a complete mess to deal with on a behavior level,
Sure.
but they're smart?
That happens all the time. So many
Okay.
kids who I'll never forget. I had one kid in my first year. This kid was so bright, so smart. He worked hard. He was on all these sports. He's the top of his game in all aspects. But he just, man, he would get in trouble with me almost every day. Oh, and I really liked the kid. I was never getting him in trouble and then thinking to myself, oh my God, I really don't like it. That wasn't like that. I really did like him. He would just frustrate me to no end. Whether it's interrupting me or I tell him to do this and he does this, or whatever. Or talking back is the big one, man. Because when my own kids talk back, it drives me crazy. Like my daughter, I'll tell her, okay, go put your clothes away. But I want to do this first.
But why?
Go
Can
put
I
your
do
clothes
this?
away.
Give me 5
Or,
more seconds.
yes. Well, then you're talking back. Like they think they have
But
right.
mine's a boy, and I will do that bro talk with him. And I find it so hilarious. He'll be talking to kids on like Fortnite and talking all that mess, and I'll just talk it right back to him, and I'll be like, "Bro, I know how this works. Like, you can't convince me trying to tell me no. It's like trying to tell me how something I don't understand. No, I understand. You're just not listening to me."
Like kind of funny with like the parents like from our generation that can bro talk back.
Right. we're like the first ones who know what we're actually talking about. That's why when I tell my daughter last night she's playing Roblox or whatever it is that she plays, I'm like, well, I will say oh gosh, she heard me. I am very proud of her that she's playing on a keyboard and mouse though. I like seeing it. Like she's standing right now I'm on, remember I told you guys I have that desk that raises? Like I'm on the, here, let me show you this. Check this out. Hold on. See, it's like a balance board. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so she'll stand here and she'll play with the WASD and the mouse and all. This is so cool. But anyway, I'll say to her, come put this away or come clean up whatever. Dad, I can't pause it right now. I'm looking at the screen. Her character's just standing there. I'm like, I'm not new to gaming. I understand how this works. Get up and go do what I told you to do. So they can't get away with that anymore, like they used to be able to. So definitely going to be interesting. So.
Oh, actually, I have one. So it's in your math class that are like, when am I ever going to use math in real life?
Do you remember the whole "you're never going to have a calculator with you all your life"? Well, we do.
Yeah, I get that all the time. Why do we have to learn this, whatever? But then I that's why I try to give them real life examples with the problems. So, for example, Susie went to the store and she wanted a quarter-pound burger, but then the half-pound burger was this much more, whatever. And I try to just put it into real life situations so they understand, like, oh, this is how it would really go. Being able to do addition or multiplication or fractions quickly. I mean, it really does come in handy for me with a lot of different things. So anyway, this has been pretty fun answering these questions. So.
Out of all school, I'm trying to think like who are my favorite teachers. Honestly, like my 5th grade teacher, honestly, probably or 4th or 5th did make the biggest impact even for me. Was that the case for y'all?
You know what?
For me, it was high school.
High school?
Yeah.
I gotta say the teachers that I remember the most are probably my 4th. Yeah, probably the same for me. 4th and 5th. I remember them very clearly.
Can you remember an example? So my 5th grade teacher, she used to like Fridays, there would be like 2 hours where she would read to us and we could lay our head down, take a nap or listen or whatever. And she read to us The Giver. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I know that book. Yep.
And that just completely changed my life because I remember her reading. I remember even 5th grade. I guess we think of them way dumber than they actually are because I'm thinking of 5th. Like, I understood the material, no problem, because it was really deep stuff like having kids and if they weren't at a right weight or a right height or whatever, there was some issue. They were just literally discarding them, or there was all these super like messed up things happening in the background of this perfect world. And then ever since then, it seems like anything that I'm into kind of follows that same vein of like, whether it's The Matrix or whether it's Pleasantville or whether it's even something like Death Stranding stuff or Metal Gear Solid or whatever, things that really make you question the way society runs and how they try to show how it works to how it really works and all of that. Like, anyway, and it's all because of that little instance of her just reading that book and me just having to take it in a ton. And it's not even just that. It's because I wouldn't have even listened or even care to listen if I didn't like her as much as I did. But I grew such a connection with the teacher. And then that book was so important. So it was just like a combination of two big things clashing there.
That makes all the difference, man.
Yeah.
My high school art teacher, Miss Sikorsky, she because I could draw like from an early age, so like I didn't really have to go hard in art class in most of my high school and like elementary school life. But then like once I got to 11th grade art class or whatever, she went harder on me because I knew how to draw than the other kids. And like there were points where she would literally just tell me to like draw circles and squares and triangles.
Do you ever do that, Rudy? Do you ever see like a kid? Oh, he knows his stuff, and you push him even harder than you would the other kids. Do you do that?
So if I have kids that are, really getting I teach the lesson one time. They're already, killing it. They know how to do it perfectly, right? What I'll do is I won't necessarily be tougher on them and want them to do more, but I kind of give them a sense of, owning that skill. Now I want them to go around the class and you check other kids' work and you sit down and you lead a group of three other kids, and that works really well because the kids, they're like, oh my God, one of my classmates is teaching me this. Oh, that's awesome. And it usually works.
That's awesome. Well. Instead of applying more pressure to them, just have them help with the other kids. And other kids obviously gravitate towards other kids helping them than somebody else helping them.
Totally, man. And these are things that, man, you pick up. Like, I feel like my brain is so packed with so much cool knowledge I've learned. That's why I like this job so much. I feel like I'm actually learning something. It's not a mindless job where I'm just going day in, day out. I'm like learning actual useful things, A
lot of kid cheating.
I have. Yeah, and like Tim said before, pick your battles, right? I've had kids who trying to, find some way, and there's been times
have you saw a super clever where you're like, man, I didn't even think of that. That's kind of cool.
So I've seen kids come up with all sorts of ways. And the thing is, I kind of pick and choose, I'm like, listen, is it really worth it for you to be cheating on this little, in-class activity? No. Okay, you don't feel like you have to. I can help you out more. If you need extra help, I can help you out, And normally that's how I approach it. There was one time where a kid was sort of, I guess you could say they were plagiarizing, even though it was just for like an in-class assignment. They're like copy and pasting things. I just don't think he understood how serious that gets as you get older.
Yeah.
So then I turned that. Another thing you'll do is a lot of the teachers, you'll kind of like take every moment you can and turn it in like a teachable moment. Like you stop the whole class. All right, everyone stop what you're doing. All right, I want to talk to you guys about something that happened, And I explained to them, like, you guys think it's no big deal right now, copy and pasting, but I told them a story about a kid I knew in college who got kicked out of college because he plagiarized his research paper. I'm like, it gets pretty serious, I know you don't think it is, but
in that gaming world that I go to, you talking about that. The Philip dude, you remember that? So he was literally copying other people's reviews,
crazy.
Even written reviews, and then having the exact same thing.
So
and then,
crazy.
But that's the thing, like. So he spent how many years building up his YouTube, right? And then it led into the IGN thing, him being a host of the main podcast. I mean, he couldn't have had it any better.
What a big deal.
It all went down the drain. And now he can't, years and years later, people still just, I'm like, oh, you can't watch his content. He ruined his entire career over that.
So basically, the guy, you're aware of the guy, Philip, right, Ryan, that we're talking about? Or no?
Philip Mewson or...
We could wrap up with this. To make a long story short, Philip Mewson was a YouTuber, had like 50-something thousand subscribers, maybe 60-something, right? He's on his way to something bigger, obviously. And what I noticed about him when I would see his videos is he was really good at editing. And he was really passionate about it. Like, he had some good editing skills. So already you already have something good there. Okay, fine.
His production was great. It was something I wish I could do.
Yeah. It's definitely, he definitely had some skill. Anyway, so one thing led to another, and they needed a new host for the Nintendo podcast on IGN, right? And those IGN podcasts get big numbers, right? A lot of people listen to them. Anyway, so one thing led to another. He got some connections. He met the right people. He got this position. Now, I could tell this guy was very nervous leading a podcast. Maybe he wasn't the best fit for it, but okay, like any other person starting new, maybe he'll get better at it, okay? So fine, he did it for a while, and then I remember one day... It kept
getting worse and worse and worse. It's not like he was nervous in the beginning and then got better.
You're right.
It's almost like he got worse over time. Because he didn't actually know the material. He just talking very generic, basic terms like, oh yeah, it's pretty fun, it's pretty good, yeah, it's great, yeah, but never can give any real detail to anything.
Right,
he was picking it up months later. Yeah.
I think I know who you guys are talking about because we had those IGN podcasts on Play when I worked at GameStop.
Just to finish, and then I'll get back to this. And basically, long story short, there comes a a review on IGN. and it was the game Dead Cells, which is a pretty cool game. I mean, a lot of people liked it. It was really big at the time. So I do what I always do. When a new game comes out, I'm somewhat interested, and I kind of make the rounds. I look at IGN, I look at a few other
Yeah.
that I follow on YouTube, watch the reviews. I watched his review. I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know any better. Okay, fine. And then as the day goes on, you start seeing people posting about a possible plagiarism that he stole from this other guy. It's a way smaller YouTuber who now is huge, by the way. He's gotten way bigger. Anyway,
and he's
then,
bigger than Philip by a landslide now.
Yeah, he is now. So Philip now is at 53K, and the guy Boomstick Gaming. Let's see what he's at. Boomstick Gaming is at 199K. So he definitely. And when Boomstick Gaming, when this first happened, I want to say,
bro, it was hundreds of subscribers.
Yeah, he was super. So if anything, maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to him.
It is.
But anyway,
it is.
Philip got caught, plagiarizing. Right? They took down the review. Then the internet was buzzing.
Oh, it was word for word, by the way. It wasn't like he took a few words, messed with it.
Word.
All he had to do was change a few words, move some sentences around. He didn't do any of that.
He would try. It would later come out. That when they started doing more digging, that there were other reviews where maybe he tried to do a quick, that meme where it says like, okay, just copy it but make it look like you didn't, that meme.
Yes.
That's what he was doing. He'd switch around a few things. Then it started coming out 4, 5, 6, 7 different reviews that he did this with, and then things just then he got let go from IGN, obviously. But then he comes out with this. I feel like people. I'm not a YouTuber, so I can't say.
Oh God, the apology.
But I feel like I would know enough to know. If I messed up, okay, and I needed to come out and address it, I feel like I would be better than 99% of these YouTubers. They come out, they start off, okay, well, guys, and they take no accountability.
Or start crying.
They make more excuses, right? So he was just going, he's getting roasted.
He never actually admitted he did anything wrong, and he started pointing the finger at the other person's. Basically calling them out and trying to. It was actually Jason Schreier who was calling out him. I dare you to look into my reviews and find more. And that's exactly what they did.
Enough,
and that's what got him in trouble.
Found way more. He did eventually come out with this was way later, a video where he kind of.
Bro, the fourth video later, he actually made multiple sorry videos. He did. And then the real sorry came like 3 years later.
But man, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. Should I feel bad for the guy? No, he did the number one thing you shouldn't do in this field. But then I do feel bad that every video he makes now, every comment is the same thing. Philip, you're a scumbag. You plagiarized, whatever. So he ruined a good opportunity, obviously.
It's that 7.8 out of 10.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, the other one. Yeah, I don't think he'll ever recover from this. I don't know if you can live off of 50,000 subscribers. Probably not. I would guess not. But who knows?
All right, one more question and we could go. I'm thinking that 7.8. Do you act? I do blame the reviewer. I do think it's stupid. The whole game is a water theme.
Right,
it's supposed to be a water theme. You're on islands and it's most of the Pokemon are water. Duh. Because you're around water the whole game. That's the whole theme of the game. Of course you're going to be in water. So why are you giving a game a bad review based around water? That's the whole point of the game. So yes, I am on the fence of all the people giving them crap because I'm right there with them. Like you can't give a game crap for sticking to a theme that they wanted to do. I don't get it.
You know where she screwed up, and I don't know if this was her or her editor or something. The bullet points. That's where you killed yourself because a lot of people don't read the review, unfortunately. A lot of people just look at the score, they look at the bullet point. So when you have a bullet point that literally says too much water and people think this is the water Pokemon game, like, what do you think people are going to do? You have to, like, I understand the internet's not fair sometimes and there's a lot of bad people on the internet, but you have to realize the internet is what it is. You can't change the internet. So you have to just adjust accordingly. You're never going to win this battle to make everyone nice on the internet. Come on, guys. We know. I could post on the internet on some random Reddit thread about, maybe not Reddit, but let's say 4chan or something. My father just died. Can anyone give me some recommendations of how to deal with it? Oh, go screw yourself. Get good. People would be so mean. That's just how it is.
I don't want people to hear this and think that I'm supporting people actually being mean to her and sending death threats and all that. I'm not going that far. Okay?
Definitely not.
Let me just state that. But
they shouldn't do it. But they will. Unfortunately, they will do it. But yeah, I wish people. I even have moments like this where I'll post. Like I'm in this. this PC Master Race Facebook group, right? And I get such a different vibe from that group than I do like the Podcast Beyond group or something. If I post in the Podcast Beyond group, I feel pretty confident that either A, I'll get an answer to what I'm asking, and B, people for the most part will be courteous. And even if you get some guy who's a jerk, it's not gonna be anything crazy. I don't even like posting in the PC Master Race one because I see the way they tear people apart if they mess up on something or ask a question that maybe is silly. It makes me not even want to write anything because I know people are gonna be mean. Do I think they should be? Of course not. I wish everyone was just nice about it.
The PC gaming community is bad overall.
They're tough. I feel like there's a lot of good people there, but the people who speak the loudest are horrible. Same thing with the Souls. I know people get so tired of Souls community. Some people are so obnoxious.
I hate them. I love the game.
And I don't blame you. I don't blame people for feeling that way. But what my experience with the Souls games is like, we help each other out. You got stuck at this boss. I'll jump in your game and help you. Here's some tips. That's how we all are. But unfortunately, the loudest people are the jerks.
Anyway.
So.
All right. Well,
anyway.
Great episode.
Yeah,
awesome diving into the teaching stuff. Next week, like I said, the main topic, we are going to dive into Blue Point.
Blue Box. Let's not give them that much credence.
So Blue Point actually is a part of the conspiracy. Anyway, it's Blue Box.
That is
but
true.
Blue Point is a section of it. Anyway. All right. Well,
I'll look forward to
it.
See
you guys.
All right, man. Take care.
You can kick the credit. Bye.